Hello, everybody. How's it going? We are the Cinefanatics. My name is Robert Adams.
I'm Chris Adams.
And this is the Marquee Actors ranking Tom Cruise action movies. We are joined tonight by our very special guest, the head writer of the Movie Trivia Schmodown, Mr. PJ Campbell. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. I'm glad to be here. I feel like I actually get to be a Cinefanatic for once. It's been a while since I've hung out with you guys doing
he
like this.
He actually gets to like movies for once.
Yeah, I mean, I always like movies. I just, don't like getting yelled at over movie questions, and that's okay.
Well, we have never questioned your writing abilities, or at least we haven't done it publicly where someone could see it on YouTube.
I'll take it. It's a small win.
Anyways, we're ranking Tom Cruise action movies tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. We got about 20 movies we have to get through. Before we get started, we got to do the YouTube things. There's streamlabs.com/cinefanatics. If you have any questions, comments, issues with our picks, and for some reason, if you have an issue and want to call us stupid, if you would like to send some money with that insult, that would be great. Streamlabs.com/cinefanatics. There's also Patreon, patreon.com/cinefanatics. Hop on there. If you have the means to help support us, feel free to help support us because that would be great so we could grow this darn thing. Before we also get started, I want to make sure we plug. We did something new a couple of days ago. So if you haven't had a chance to check it out, it's brand new. It's on this channel as of a couple of days ago. It is called Deconstructed Trailers. I did the Thor Love and Thunder trailer, the second trailer, mixed with the teaser trailer. Basically, this is reorganizing the trailers that we have seen into the order that we think the movie is going to go in. So it's a lot of fun. I very much enjoyed putting this together. Please go check it out. Leave a comment. Let us know your thoughts so I know what to change, what to do, whether to continue the series or just squash it right now before I dedicate too much work to it. But I hope not, because it was a lot of fun. So go check that out if you have not. Anyways, real quick, PJ, how much do you love Tom Cruise?
As far back as I can remember, he's always been one of my favorite actors. Like, the dude's been putting his life on the line for us as movie fans pretty much since the 90s. Like, it's almost kind of ridiculous how much I love his movies because he keeps just doing crazy stuff and we watch every single time and it's the best. So I'm super excited to be here. There's just so many movies of his to talk about, which makes this list nearly impossible.
That being said, quick shout out to Vernon in the chat. My brother and I were trying to figure out exactly how we were going to tier rank Tom Cruise movies. And after much deliberation, Vernon happened to be present at the time and was able to say, hey, why don't y'all just do the action movies? So thanks to Vernon for making tonight possible. Thank you, Vernon. Chris,
we call them aggressive negotiations.
The what?
We called them aggressive negotiations.
Very aggressive negotiations. Much like PJ with his cats.
I was about to feed the cat to the dog
here. Chris, how much do you love Mr. TC Legend?
I love him very adequately. Nice. Oh, I'm sorry. No, he's great. He's the best. He's one of the best action stars. He's literally one of the best actual movie stars that are still around. I think he's still he qualifies as the last remaining hope of the golden age of movie stardom, like a movie star that actually could sell a movie. It's a Tom Cruise movie, I'm going, kind of a thing. It's why anyone went and saw The Mummy. Oh, am I spoiling a movie that we're going to be ranking?
Yes, we will be talking about The Mummy. If y'all don't already know where The Mummy is going on this, although I don't know, PJ has a very, very strong love for movies that have a certain aspect or something. So PJ may be throw that straight into A. I don't know. We'll
see how this goes.
Which brings us to the rules of the Marquee.
Yeah. So, by the way, I love Tom Cruise just because he's just a very good go-to. You want a good action flick, Tom Cruise is where you go. Other than certain movies that may have been mentioned already. Other than certain movies that have already been mentioned that some people think should be S tier. You really can't go wrong watching, like, you want to watch an action movie, throw on something that Tom Cruise is in. That's it. I mean, Far and Away is definitely the best action. Far and Away.
Oh, Far and Away.
Yeah. We will probably do dramatic Tom Cruise movies at some point in the future, but not tonight. We had to narrow down that list. And like Vern said,
so long. It's still such a long list. Like that, you have to understand just how many movies this dude has been turning out for so long that this list is this long just with action movies.
Yeah. So before we bring into the marquee, we did get a couple of Streamlabs already. We got one from Garth saying, "You're stupid." Well, you asked for it. Thank you, Garth, for your continued support of this channel.
Garth doing Garth things.
Yeah. We also got Garth. One from Amber saying, "I hate all of you and I'm angry." Grr. Okay, not really, but y'all should talk about your shared love of Rise of the Resistance first.
It is Star Wars.
Seems like that would be a really fun discussion.
It would, to be honest.
But
I was broken and I loved it so much.
Unfortunately, I loved it after the fact. I had no idea what I was getting into before writing it, so I'm like, I don't like. It's well known I don't like roller coasters or rides that do roller coastery type things. So I was a little apprehensive, not knowing what was going to happen. Yeah, and then it drops like 10 feet for like 2 seconds, and that was okay.
5.5 feet.
Yeah, I definitely want to ride it again. You know, that ending. That ending gets you a little bit. Like if you're not prepared for it.
Yeah, definitely. So, anyways, without further ado, let's get into the marquee. Hit it, Carl. Hit it again, Carl. Wasn't quite ready yet. Carl's slacking a little bit tonight.
No, he's been drinking. It's a 3-day weekend, you know.
Yeah, it is. Let's see if Carl can do it right this time.
Carl, slow down. Carl, slow down. Carl, I told you to slow down, Carl.
Carl's just having a bender, you guys. It's the only explanation for all this.
Carl's not feeling well tonight.
He's being a little bit of an overachiever, actually.
Just a little bit. Anyways, there's the marquee, y'all. Welcome to the marquee. Again, so we got a what are these called now? I forgot.
Streamlabs?
Super chat. We got a super chat from Andres saying, "I wish I could join the discussion, but COVID has grounded me from speaking. Seeing American Werewolf tonight and seeing Top Gun 2 in IMAX. Cheers." Nice. Ew. Hurry up and get better, dude.
Yeah, dude, get better. That's a bummer. It seems like I guess Billy Crystal got it too, though, so you're in good company. Knows that? Yeah. He tweeted it. It's the only reason I know.
Wow.
Carl tried something called Special K and it wasn't cereal. That's a throwback to Stranger Things recap last night over on a Fans View channel. Anyways, so here's the rules for how this is going to work tonight, and I need everyone to make sure we're paying like special attention to this because
we're not arguing about this over with you guys over and over and over again in the chat. This is how this show works.
These rules are going to be very, very solid tonight. So the rules of this, we have 20 movies we have to rank. The tiers are limited. So because of that, the S tier will be limited to 4 movies, only 4 movies. It doesn't matter if we think that a certain movie should also be included in the S tier. We can't put all of these movies in S tier. Otherwise, it makes the S tier useless. If you get everything in the world that you want for Christmas, for example, then nothing matters. You don't have anything else to get anymore.
You got everything you wanted for Christmas. I don't know what that doesn't sound so bad.
It doesn't sound so bad, but then once you realize you have everything, nothing feels special or significant anymore. You've got it all. So yes, S tier will be limited to 4. We can't put everything there. A tier will also be limited to 4. All the rest of them will be limited to 3. So
which is why this is going to be very difficult, because outside of one movie, all of these are basically S and A tier movies. So I'll just get that out of the way. Just let you guys know.
For the most part, yeah. So keep that in mind that we know one movie is going to be F easily. We have to put 2 other movies in F. It doesn't mean we necessarily think they're bad, but I guarantee the one movie that is going into F will probably be at the end of the F tier. So,
yep.
Hate you guys.
We had Jake
noted before we start.
Jake Berlin already. If Days of Thunder isn't S tier, it is a complete sham. Well, we'll see. Here's hoping.
To be fair, that is the superior Tony Scott directed Top Gun movie.
Okay. There's definitely a thought right there.
Just saying.
Anyways, let's kick this off, starting with our first movie. And yeah, we're going to go in order of release. So making sense because that means this is going to begin and end with Top Gun. So first movie, Top Gun. Speaking of the first Tony Scott directed Top Gun movie. Let's start with PJ.
All right.
What are your thoughts on the movie?
I really like this movie, but I'm not partial to this movie like a lot of people. I came to it later in life. My dad used to watch it a lot, but I never really sat down and watched it fully all the way through until probably middle school, high school time. And so because of that, I don't have a lot of nostalgia for it. And I also think of its time, it's great. It's not his best movie. It's not his best performance. I think some of the other characters like Val Kilmer is actually better in the movie than he is. So I think this was an easy one to kind of move center of the pack right away, especially when we literally just got a Top Gun movie that kicks the living shit out of this one. No offense to fans of Top Gun, but that's just kind of my feeling on it. So it's pretty easy to put this one kind of middle of the pack just out the gate. C tier. Let's go.
Interesting. Chris?
Honestly, a lot of the same kinds of thoughts. Top Gun, I think, is a good movie. I mean, it's not this is where we're going to end up with a lot of these movies. Honestly, a lot of these movies are a good movie. It's not one that, if I want to watch a Tom Cruise action movie, I just want to throw one on. I'm not necessarily going to reach for Top Gun at any given point. So I do think it's also pretty middle of the pack. It's a decent story. Like PJ just said, we got Top Gun Maverick, which we'll get to, which is the much superior Top Gun movie of the two.
Let's just go ahead and get it out of the way. Yeah, easily the sequel is better.
Oh yeah. For me, I'm also middle of the pack. My middle of the pack at this point though looks like B. I put it in the B tier. I like it. It's good. It's fun. It's got some really fun moments. It's got some really good dramatic pieces in it, obviously with Goose and all that. But I can't put it higher than a B tier.
Okay. As for me, I believe I definitely believe it's a good movie. I always felt like Top Gun felt more like a slice of life type of movie. There really wasn't a solid story. Your story was that Maverick is going to Top Gun school. That's it.
Yeah. It felt competitive like a sports movie.
Yeah, there's bits and pieces. There's story around him and Charlie. There's story between him and Iceman, but otherwise it's little small things along the way of just him at school. There's no real big overarching story. I compare that to the storytelling of Dazed and Confused, where it's just a slice of life in the middle of these people's lives. And we're just getting to see that. And it just so happens to be cohesive enough to put into a movie. Let me see what else I have for it. The music, though.
Oh, yeah. It's got a great soundtrack.
This soundtrack for Top Gun has to be easily top 5 non-score related. I mean, the score definitely is a big, big part of this movie, but I feel this has got to be if you're collecting movie soundtracks, this has to be in the top 5 of all movie soundtracks of all time.
I mean, that Kenny Loggins song, man,
yeah,
come on. That song is so great, it transcended the movie.
It's true. I would say any other movie, them playing the theme over and over and over again like that, I probably would be turned off by that. But for some reason, Top Gun, I really do not mind that we hear Danger Zone, that we hear Harold Faltermeyer's theme, that we hear Berlin's Take My Breath Away constantly throughout that movie.
Yeah.
I really love hearing it constantly, so it works.
Of course, the Take My Breath Away was like repeated over and over again for like a 20-minute segment of the movie.
Like a good solid chunk of the middle. Except for the volleyball scene, and I wish they played it during the volleyball scene too. That would have been funny.
Yeah. I mean, let's make that scene even more homoerotic than it already is. Let's fucking go.
He spikes the ball. Take my breath away. Dun, dun, dun. Whatever. That's my one time being able to sing during the stream tonight. So thank you guys.
Oh, thank God.
That being said, I would also, I agree with PJ. I would put this in C tier. Probably one of my highest. Oh, no, I don't know. One of my highest.
It's a higher C. You know, like, look, respect where respect is due. It really put Cruise on the map. We also have to look at it that way. But like, there's a lot more movies we're about to go through, guys, and it like this movie just doesn't really live up to some of the others.
Yeah.
For me on here, there's a couple movies that I feel like are firmly in my C tier, but as long as this movie ends up above those two, I'm pretty much okay with wherever it ends up. So if it's down in C, that makes sense because the other movies I have around it could fluctuate between B and C as far as I care.
Yeah. Well, okay. And Garth's bringing it up. The actual song that played during the volleyball scene was called Playing with the Boys. So
that's true.
What do you do? I mean,
they're really not hiding it. That's all. That's all.
Yeah. The other thing with this that I forgot to mention at the top of the show, again, like we've done before, after we're done ranking all these, we will go back and deliberate again. Like, do we want to change anything? Do we really want to move anything around? We can do that after we're done ranking these, just so once we see where everything's falling in line at. But as of right now, high C seems good.
Orange high C, yes.
Ecto Cooler.
Yeah, dude, I miss Ecto Cooler.
All right, so next one, which is kind of funny that it goes from Top Gun straight into Days of Thunder, the other Tony Scott Top Gun movie. Chris,
Top Gun with cars.
That's what it is.
It is 100%. This is Top Gun with race cars.
I actually have all my notes for to talk about here. First thing, Top Gun with cars. That's it. So, Chris, we'll start with you.
I liked this one. I like this one just fine. I do have it underneath Top Gun. So sorry, Jake Berlin. I do have this one underneath Top Gun for myself. It's not S tier for me. Keeping in mind, of course, that pretty much all these movies I would probably stick in the S or A tier because I like them all except for one. This movie I don't have up there. It's good. It's a very well-made story. I enjoyed the storyline of it. I enjoyed the God dang it, Chance.
He's gonna come in and bust in through my door and just probably try to slit my throat or something.
Well, give it time. It can suck even more. Watch.
Hey, by the way, real quick, hey Chance, I'm gonna need you to check your DMs pretty soon. We need to talk to you.
Yeah.
Dude, be careful. He might try to jump onto this stream if we're not careful.
Yeah. So this movie, this is one of those where I looked at it for a long time. I was like, should I watch this movie tonight? This is one of those movies I feel like where I always contemplated, should I watch this one tonight? Even before this, watching these movies for this ranking, I was like, I'm not in the mood yet. And I don't know, after watching it, I don't know if it was really a movie that you need to be in a mood for, but for me, this was, it had really good, there's really good elements to it involving Tom Cruise's character interacting with the other characters, with Michael Rooker's character, who, which is hilarious to me because before watching it, I knew very little, if anything, about this movie other than it was a movie about racing cars. And I was like, I didn't know Michael Rooker was in this. So I thought that was kind of fun. But as a whole, this movie doesn't necessarily stand out to me all that much. It's good. I think, again, if we're talking about Tony Scott, this is another movie that is an example of him being a fantastic director. But it's not a movie that I think really stands out to me. I think Top Gun, the first Top Gun obviously stands out to me a lot more. So I would put, where do I have this one for myself? I think I have this one. I have these all on Letterboxd, but I can't split them up on Letterboxd into the different tiers. I think I have this one in the D tier for myself.
Nerd in the chat.
Yes.
Nicole Kidman is incredibly unethical, similar to Top Gun unethical relationship.
That's true too.
Tom Cruise constantly gets himself in unethical relationships, whether it's with his instructor or his doctor.
Are we talking about Eyes Wide Shut?
No, that one they're actually a married couple, but he does get himself into an unethical because he goes to an orgy and stuff.
Best action movie ever.
As much action that's in Eyes Wide Shut, it's not one of the ones we're ranking tonight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a different sort of action.
Yeah. It's the fun action. Anyways, where did you want to put this one, Chris?
I think this one's in my D tier.
D? Okay. I pretty much agree. Again, Tom Cruise. It's really weird. I don't know fighter jets, but for some reason I'm able to follow along with Top Gun Maverick. I completely understand that. I know cars because I drive one. Not professionally, but I've driven cars before. I really can't follow exactly what's happening. I don't watch NASCAR, so that part of the action on this does not interest me for some reason. I'm able to follow the movie. I'm not completely disinterested by the movie, but it doesn't pull me in like Top Gun does. So I still, same. I would rank Top Gun higher. I would put Days of Thunder in D.
I think that's totally fair. I see where you guys are coming from, and I think I'm going to be the lone holdout on it, wanting it to be higher, but I can definitely concede to it being below Top Gun. I love the cast in this movie. I think that's the thing that really pushes it over the top for me. I like his relationship with all the different characters. You got John C. Reilly, you got Robert Duvall. It ends up being the first time they work together because they'll work together almost 30 years later in Jack Reacher. And Nicole Kidman. It's the first time we see him and Nicole Kidman together. And honestly, man, no matter what, the chemistry they have is so impeccable. They're so good together on screen. Michael Rooker's great. I mean, this movie was so influential on Vin Diesel. He was like, I need Michael Rooker in a Fast and the Furious movie because that movie had cars. So Vin Diesel, picked up Michael Rooker and put him in Fast 9. And I've always loved this movie. I like the racing more than the jet pilot stuff. It's more interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always gone back to this one more. I think this is actually Tony Scott really feeling out Tony Scott in a way that we hadn't seen him yet. You see flourishes of it in Beverly Hills Cop 2. You see it in Top Gun, but this one feels like the most Tony Scott movie to date at the time. And I think that that's always kind of made it stand out. And I go back to it more than I go back to Top Gun. The score and the soundtrack isn't nearly as memorable, but the character arcs are. The stuff going on with Michael Rooker is that stuff has stayed with me for so long. And I continue to go back to it so frequently. So I would still say it's probably a C tier cruise, but I would be willing to put it under Top Gun since I am going to be very much outmanned in this one.
You were saying you want to put it C tier?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But if you guys want it D tier, we got to move stuff. So I know I'm the one who likes it more.
Okay. So we'll put
for the sake of putting, I would say for the sake of putting stuff at different tiers right now, we could just slide it to the top of D. It could end up in the bottom of C at least.
Yeah,
at some
totally.
point.
Fine with me.
So we will slide it to the top of D. Very well put, brother. Why do they only turn left? I don't know. Here's the thing. In all honesty, that I know that's a joke, and I get that joke. I think it's funny. I've heard that joke before, but that's honestly my my problem with baseball also. Just to sidetrack real quick is they hit the ball, they run the first base, then they run the second and third, and that's all they do is just hit the ball. There's nothing special or spectacular about that. So I feel like this is an old Gallagher joke, which it actually is. But I mean,
those who do not watch sports should not commentate on sports.
I know, and that's why I don't watch sports. It's I shouldn't be talking about politics either, but whoops, that happened every once in a while. So beside the point. Let's move on to our next one. Ooh, this is gonna be a good one. Mission Impossible. I guess we're starting with me on this one. Here's the thing, like the Mission Impossible franchise, like honestly, is probably one of the best, if not pretty close to the best, most well-rounded franchises. Like there's none of the movies in the Mission Impossible franchises is a bad movie. They're all good movies. They're all highly watchable over and over again. There will be some that are lesser quality than others, but they're all really good. For this one, I felt like this was a really good, like fun heist movie. At the time this came out, which I believe was what, 96?
96.
I believe, yeah. So at the time, like I wasn't really of the age to be interested in this. Our father watched the Mission Impossible TV show like crazy, and I was always bored by it. So when they made a movie, when they made a movie of it, I was not like interested in rushing out to go see this. I was like, the TV show's boring. The movie's probably going to be boring. I don't care. But like in hindsight now, of course, I've watched this multiple times, and it's a fun heist movie. There's still part of it that I felt like even like from the first watch on to like now, it still gets pretty convoluted. I felt like it was really hard trying to keep track of like, wait, who's Max? She's Max? What's Max? What do they need? Is he working for IMF or is he working for Max? What's going on? Oh, he's dangling from the ceiling. Who cares? That's just fun to watch. That is easily like one of the most like suspenseful scenes out of like all movies of all time. Easily. Him dangling from that ceiling.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. And the sweat. Come on.
Yeah. The drop of sweat that he.
Yeah.
Oh. So, spoilers, but whatever. It came out in 96.
Yeah. Look, it's really old at this point comparatively.
Yeah, but it's still a fun movie. I enjoy watching it. For ranking, I would actually, knowing what else is coming, I would probably rank this somewhere between either a low A or a high B.
Feels a little too high for me. Gotta be honest with you guys.
Ooh. Well, let's hear your thoughts.
There's a lot of Mission Impossible movies, and they've progressively gotten better since like 2002. The first two movies are trying to find footing on a franchise that is putting Tom Cruise front and center, but it's not really quite sure what to be just yet. And I really like the first one, but comparative to what some of the other ones we're going to talk about, it just kind of pales in comparison. Like Brian De Palma's a fun director, but he's not like a great action director. This isn't the reason we go to a Mission Impossible movie these days. Like it's a great thriller, but it's not like a super great action movie. The most interesting and memorable thing about the movie is that they kill off his team in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like
big name actors too.
Yeah, like you get Emilio Estevez and you kill him right away. If people don't know, like in the hindsight of all this, was that this was one of the first times, like if the internet was really around, the internet was furious, and the fans of Mission Impossible were furious because they made one of the main characters from the TV show the villain of the movie, and like that was apparently a big deal in the fandom. But like for the most part, there's not a lot of stuff about this movie that stands out comparatively to the stuff in later installments. And I think that we've transcended this movie, if you will. Mm-hmm. It's a great starting point, but it's not a movie that has a lasting impact on me compared to some of the other ones. So I'd say probably C tier right above Top Gun.
Okay. Chris?
Yeah, so likewise for me, and on Mission Impossible, this is not anywhere close to my favorite of the Mission Impossible movies. After having rewatched it in preparation for this ranking, I realized that there's a lot that does happen in this movie, just as my brother was talking about, that I was kind of lost on. I was like, who's going where, and who? It's got some great twists and turns in it, but I had to bring up the Wikipedia plot to try to figure out where I was at in the movie to try to understand, like, okay, where did we twist and where did we turn off to?
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I do like the overall like idea of what's happening here. The storyline is good. I love what you were talking about, PJ, in terms of like if the internet were a bigger deal, then like I completely get that. I understand like Jim Phelps was like a huge deal in the TV show, and so for that probably would have killed the entire franchise immediately out of the gate. We wouldn't have gotten all the rest of the Mission Impossible movies had this movie been made now.
Yep.
But for those of us who didn't watch the Mission Impossible TV show and didn't have that attachment to those characters,
100%.
I don't care. I thought it was a fun twist.
It was a great twist.
Yeah.
And as it turned out, John Voight actually a villain. So it worked out.
Yeah. It's kind of true.
Just saying.
For me, I like it. It's good. It's not anywhere close to, I think, like the top three Mission Impossible movies. For me, it was at the bottom of B tier. So I could see bottom of B, top of C. Either way works for me.
I'm just going to preemptively I'm going to put it in B, but I'm not going to put it at the top. So I'm expecting this to move pretty much.
A good call.
Yeah. It's going to shift a little bit.
Yeah. So moving on to, well, let's just stay in this franchise for a minute. Mission Impossible 2.
I think this is me this time, right?
Yes, we will start with you.
All right. So let's just get it out of the way. This is going to end up in the D tier. It'll likely actually end up in the F tier. We just talked about like the movies have transcended themselves. Mission Impossible 2 is a movie that is like the best thing Mission Impossible 2 ever did for us was give us Hugh Jackman as Logan. That's the best thing it ever did. If people don't know, this movie had so many problems in production that the person who was supposed to play Wolverine ended up having to do reshoots on this movie, taking him out of playing Wolverine in X-Men.
Doug Ray Scott.
Yeah. And so that is the best thing about this movie. Is there some fun action beats? Yes. But this movie's a mess. The oily, greasy, long hair on Tom Cruise, not the best look. I love John Woo. This is not the best John Woo American film, let alone his best movie. Easy for me to put this one towards the bottom. I don't go back to this movie very frequently. It's ingrained in my mind as one of the bigger disappointments of like growing up and learning about movies. Like, and I don't even love the first one that much, but even when I was young and I watched from Mission Impossible 2, I was like, wow, there is a drop in quality here that I was not anticipating. So for that, I'm going to go ahead and say D tier.
Yeah, but it's got Tandy Wade Newton in it.
That's fair.
Good point.
She is so good in that movie. Chris.
Yeah. Again, on the rewatches, this does end up being my least favorite Mission Impossible movie as well. But again, the Mission Impossible franchise for me is equatable in quality to like the MCU, wherein I do like every single movie. Just there are some that are not as good as others. And this is kind of the Iron Man to, Thor: The Dark World kind of, for some maybe Eternals, depending on who you're talking to, movie in the Mission Impossible franchise. This is the one that, like, it's a good movie. I'll still enjoy it. I'll still go, if I go back and watch the Mission Impossible franchise again, I will end up watching this again. But it is one that does not land as high for me. It's definitely the end of the pack in terms of the Mission Impossible movies. It's very, I mean, I like what you said, PJ, about, John Woo. John Woo's a great director. This movie does feel very John Woo. Yep. There's a lot of birds everywhere.
Especially at the end.
Especially at the end.
Yeah, there's many a bird at the end.
I wonder if that's the reason why this movie feels like it stands out from all of the Mission Impossible movies on its own. Even like going between this one to MI3, this one just feels like it's its own thing. It's not even like really beholden to the rest of the franchise. And of course, the franchise takes a different shape as it goes on. But yeah, this one's just end of the pack for me in the Mission Impossible movies. This is one of the first ones I would throw into the F tier on our list.
Okay. So you've got F. PJ, you said C?
I went ahead and said D for this one.
D. Okay, so D and F. Yeah, so many birds.
Guys, Chance is eating his first Mexican pizza right now, right off screen.
Nice. That's great.
I just want
I've yet to have a Mexican pizza.
Dude, Mexican pizza's so good.
I guess I'm gonna have to go try it at some point.
I would have gotten one. I would have told you to give me one. Sorry, now I'm yelling at Chance. Don't mind me, guys.
We're all getting Mexican pizzas after this. Let's do it.
Apparently, apparently this has become a certain point of view where after we're done with the stream, we just go get Taco Bell.
100%.
So it's kind of funny we're talking about the birds. This is John Woo. Didn't John Woo do Assassins?
He did, yes.
Okay, so I do remember briefly. I was watching that with some friends, and we turned that movie into a drinking game. And I was not familiar with John Woo at the time, so I got tasked with every time we see birds, take a drink. Woo! That was a wrong mistake. I learned who John Woo was and his obsession with birds real quick.
Then he got John Woozy.
I got John Woozy all over the place.
Well done. God damn it, Chris. That was a good joke.
Yeah. So this is gonna be a little weird, but I like this movie. I think like everything I said about the first Mission Impossible, this movie fixed it. Like I had no problem following what was going on with Mission Impossible 2. Like on the first watch, I was able to understand, maintain, follow along exactly. And I thought that made it a little more enjoyable for me. Now, in hindsight, in 2022, going back and watching all these movies, I definitely like Mission Impossible 1 probably better. But I still feel like this was kind of a fun movie. With the exception, there was a lot of unbelievable things in this movie. I pointed one out to my brother. There's a helicopter stunt towards like the end that it just does not make sense. And I feel like this movie was like very, very over the top on the use of the masks. Like every 5 seconds, someone was reaching over and pulling off a mask. And I'm like, if that's what you're going to do, that's going to solve all your problems ever. Just dress up as someone else and you solve whatever issue is going on.
I'm kind of surprised no one doubled up. Like they pulled off their face like, oh, it's you. And they're like, haha, no, it's not. And they pulled
like
another one.
Scooby-Doo it?
Yeah, straight up Scooby-Doo it.
Scooby-Doo this crap.
How is Tom Cruise
Scooby-Doo the shit. Yeah. I still thought it was a fun movie. I would still like, especially when comparing to the other Mission Impossible movies. And I know this is not a Mission Impossible tier ranking, but that is going to be incorporated into this.
Might as well.
I actually would put this like in B. Like I enjoy watching this more than like Top Gun.
I'm so glad that you feel that way. You're wrong.
You're wrong, but
but I appreciate you being honest about it.
But that being said, I do understand if this goes lower, and I understand the reasons why it would be lower, especially again going back and looking at what other movies are coming up, and especially again compared to the other Mission Impossible movies. This isn't the highest of them. There's at least one other Mission Impossible movie coming up that I feel like is head and shoulders above all of them. So,
I mean, I concur with you. I would say that every entry from here on out is pretty much better than the first two and actually keeps going that way.
Yeah. So I mean, I would agree with, see, y'all want to put it D and F?
I would say let's just put an F. Like, let's get it out of the way because that one's going to move down there. We got to do it. We got to make it happen.
Something has to go to F, y'all. I mean,
yeah, something's got to go to F, and that one's one of the easiest.
We already know of one movie that's going to go into F. So, and what's sad is, though, in comparison, I would really rather watch Mission Impossible 2 any day than that other movie. So,
I almost feel differently. That's the weird thing.
Ooh, we're about to. This is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Garth is saying that MI2 is the worst of the whole franchise.
Correct.
Jeremy Miller, it's the worst John Woo movie, not just MI movie. D tier. There's some decent action, yeah. Okay.
Stuff is gonna have to be in the D or in the F tier, guys. Like that's just how it's gonna have to be.
Garth speaks facts.
I think there's gonna be one movie that I'm gonna say is in the F tier that people are gonna be like, "What? Why? Why are you putting that in the F tier?"
Well, because that's just you at this point with these marquee shows. You got to stick something in F tier that you're gonna put. Like I know you're gonna put like Top Gun Maverick in F tier, and we're all gonna just you're crazy.
It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard anyone say. What's wrong with you?
Yeah. This is gonna be fun. This would be a blast to talk about. Who are we up to next?
I believe it's Chris.
Chris. Chris. Minority Report.
Skip me. You go.
No.
No, the reason I'm saying that is because this is one of the movies I didn't get to rewatch, and I've only seen it once, and it was a while ago. So I like it. I like the movie. I remember really liking it. I remember it having some like really good twists and action and whatnot in it. Without having rewatched it, there's not a whole lot that I can really speak to other than I just remember knowing that I liked this movie a whole lot. And knowing that I know that I'm not putting it below an S tier for myself. So that's how strongly I feel about how well made this movie was in terms of like everything that they did in it. So that's my first S tier of the night.
Okay. Moving on to me. I love this movie. The story, the concept, all of that is so interesting. Just because it makes sense, but at the same time, it plays with your morality of like the legal system, especially nowadays, because we're getting closer and closer to this being a potential way of the legal system working. Well, yeah, that's sad. I would have, if when I was younger, I did read a lot of the books of movies that I really enjoyed. Like I've read Jurassic Park, Lost World, A Time to Kill. I would have read the book that this is based off of as well back then, but I just don't have time for a book right now. I'll watch a two hour, or in this case, like 2.5, I think. I watch that and be done with it, move on with my day. But and this is a movie I feel like just gets better the more and more you watch it. Seeing the technology, a lot of the technology they use in this movie is becoming reality now. Like the moving the screens and stuff, much like Iron Man did and like the MCU. We're starting to get that. Oh, Garth is saying it's not a book, it's a short story. Well, geez, they turned a short story into it like a 2.5 hour movie, like Shawshank Redemption.
A ton of the Philip K. Dick stories are kind of that way. He wrote a lot of short stories, and they all kind of evolved into that.
Yeah. The suspense of this movie, the twists, and like what really happened towards the end. There's like a twist and then another twist on it, which I absolutely love about this. And it's one of the few movies I would say that when I'm watching it, I completely forget that it's Tom Cruise in it. So,
yeah, I mean,
this is going to be my first S tier movie.
I am very glad that we're all on the same page because I was afraid I was going to have to fight someone if we weren't. This is actually between the two Spielberg movies that they did together. This one is my preferred. I think it's such everything about it is so great, down to the cast. Like, look at the cast now. You see, like, young Colin Farrell. There's some great Max von Sydow stuff. There's some great stuff with Tim Blake Nelson. Like, there's so many great character actors in this movie doing incredible work, living in a sci-fi world that Spielberg is putting together based off of Philip K. Dick story. There's incredible action beats. Like, that whole chase sequence when they're chasing him down is so incredible once they have gotten the ball that he might murder someone. I always remember that. The six sticks, like, that was always such a cool concept. Everything about that whole chase and fight through the car mechanics area, like, it's so fun. It's so great. this movie rules, and it's a little scary just how kind of true it's become. That's the best way to say it. The more that it's been prophetic, the closer it becomes to like reality. There's a lot of stuff about the way Spielberg put the movie together that made it already feel like it could be reality in a certain way. Cause it's the future of, not a far future, but it was the future. But the closer we get to the way that we are as a society, this seems to come closer to a real thing. And that makes it really stand out. And Cruise's performance is one of his best. I think it's one of the few times that I don't see Cruise. And that's like not a dig at him. We like Tom Cruise because he's Tom Cruise. But this character in particular, he's always gotten lost in the role to me. And I've always bought it more as the overall story. Like, dude, visually, this movie's crazy too. The guys with no eyes, that whole sequence of him changing his eyes, having to hide in the bathtub while the crawlers are going through the building. Like, everything about this movie is so great. And the fact that it's 20 years old already and it still feels new, and it's so crazy to me. Like, Spielberg is still like maybe the greatest timeless director outside of like Alfred Hitchcock. Like, he just makes movies that they just feel all time. And that's so incredible to me. This movie rules. S tier.
I think that might be like the first for the Marquee, the first time we've gotten like unanimously everyone is like S tier. I mean, Chris is like kind of, he agrees, but he's kind of like
I need to rewatch it again. I really do.
I literally came home and rewatched it after seeing Maverick. This was the movie I put on after seeing Maverick. Like I was like, I need to watch another Cruise movie, and I put this on.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hold that I haven't seen this movie in a while against it. That's the thing. That's the thing there. I'm not going to hold that against it.
I think that tells you, though, it speaks volumes to how much you remember it and how it impacted you.
Yeah.
All right. So looking through the chat here. We got Jonathan Caro saying Top Gun Maverick. We will get to Top Gun Maverick. I don't
know if y'all have caught on quite yet, but we do these in release order. So Top Gun Maverick will be the last movie that we get to on the list.
It's gonna make it a little tough. Not gonna lie to you guys.
Yeah.
Like already
when we get to Top Gun Maverick, this is gonna be hard.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the cast of this movie is just so good. The other one that always surprised me, and Chris isn't gonna know this because I know he hasn't seen it. PJ, I'm almost certain you're familiar with Suspiria.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah, the lead actress in that, Jessica Harper.
Yep.
She's in Minority Report as Anne Lively. And like going back after watching and falling in love with Suspiria and then watching Minority Report and seeing her in that, like, oh, that's so cool. Because I didn't know of anything else off the top of my head that she was in.
Isn't Suspiria that Phil Collins song?
No, that's Sussudio.
God damn it, Chris. God damn it.
Why are you a part of this channel?
Someone has to counterbalance us apparently when we start talking about horror movies.
Well, just be glad we're not talking about Batman 89 on this ranking. So, anyway,
shut up.
Wait, who doesn't like Batman 89? Who do I need to fight right now?
I didn't rank it as high as everybody else.
Garth is asking which Suspiria, the original.
The original. Yeah,
although she did have a cameo in the new one.
Yeah.
So
the original.
Next movie, which I feel like is going to involve a lot of the same conversation potentially. The Last Samurai.
This one's hard. This one's gonna be hard.
Is this one on me to start now?
Yeah, it's in you.
So gorgeous movie. I'm not normally a samurai fan. Like I have not dived into any Akira Kurosawa movies yet. But this one I really liked. Even though like the storyline from it is very similar to, say, like Dances with Wolves or Avatar. It's an outsider learning to live and come to an understanding with a group of people that he was originally against.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that about this movie.
You're going to lose subscribers because you just brought up Avatar in this capacity.
Yeah, well, I mean, this should not be a surprise. I'm not a huge Avatar fan, so
that makes two of us.
Yeah, just the movie was gorgeous looking, but just storytelling, it's just very
so
meh.
Can I just say, yeah, that I saw when we saw the teaser trailer for it in front of Doctor Strange. I was with Tim Franco, who was in the chat, and like the teaser played, and like one person clapped, and Tim and I like looked at each other, and we were just like, "Well, it sure looks like another movie with blue people living on Pandora." Like, I'm gonna go. It's James Cameron, but like,
it looks amazing, but it looks fine.
Yeah, 100%. I'm glad that we're not alone in that.
Nerds trying to get us back on the topic. Anyways, Avatar 2 comes out the end of the year and doesn't have Cruise. Get back to talking about Tom Cruise.
Where does it rank on this list?
If it had Tom Cruise, I'd be way more excited.
True.
Just saying.
But knowing Tom Cruise, he would actually try to get blue people.
Poor Sam
and
Worthington.
Probably try to go to another planet, which, please, let's fucking go.
Pretty much.
Poor Sam Worthington.
Yeah. Jeez. I love this movie. I thought it was great. This was probably the movie that made me really understand that Tom Cruise is an actor. He's not an action or stunt actor. He can just straight up act, because I loved him in this. I forgot that it was him in this multiple times, and just it's a beautiful movie. This is I'm going to also want to put this in S tier.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going back and forth right now on A and S because, dude, there's still a couple of movies still coming up that like it's going to be hard not to want to toss a couple more of these almost right away into both these tiers. This movie is really great. I want to get ahead of it. There's a lot of people who seem to discover this movie once a year, and I don't know if it's the people that are just like going down his filmography and they're like, look, it's another white savior movie. This is not a white savior movie. Like, let's just get this out of the way right now.
The opposite.
It is the exact opposite of a white savior movie. Like, please actually watch the movie before you decide to say those things. This movie is so good, and like Robert said, I'd seen Rain Man a bunch. I knew he could act, but even then that was still like 80s Tom Cruise. Like this was one of those times that I really was like, oh my God, Cruise can act. Like Cruise can really do something that's an action movie and really throw himself into the role. And I go back to this movie a lot because there's incredible performances. Edward Zwick is a fantastic filmmaker when it comes to movies like this. We're going to talk about another one later.
Ooh, yeah.
But he's so good at things like this. He was, Glory. That's another movie by him. He really gets these like historical epics. And that was the other thing. It was a great historical epic. We didn't get a lot of great historical epics at that time. So there was something about that. And it was cool to see Cruise doing something so different and so outside of the box from the things we had been seeing him do. And I think that's always made it very special and continues to make it special. This is one of the shining beacons in his filmography. But I think it's more of an A tier than an S tier. But I could give it bottom S, top A for now. Because I think there can be movement at that point when we get towards the end, but it needs to be in one of these top two tiers. Yeah. It's tough. But like I said, let's do A for now. That's my spot.
Chris?
So I'll just say I'm in the same boat as PJ. I think this one goes in A for me as well. It is a very good movie. It's for Tom Cruise. Like I will say, why this one stands out. If you look at the rest of the movies on this list that we're going through, I would argue in some form or fashion, every other movie on this list, maybe one other one doesn't fall under this bucket, but every other movie on this list feels like a Tom Cruise movie in some way or another. This one does not. This one doesn't feel like this was being sold on Tom Cruise first. It feels like this was being sold on the story first, and then Tom Cruise came second, third, wherever else.
Yeah.
For this one, Tom Cruise, fantastic in it. I also want to highlight while we're talking here, I also want to make sure we highlight Ken Watanabe and Hiroyuki Sanada. Yes, I had to look at his name to make sure I was pronouncing it correctly. I always want to make sure I'm pronouncing these names correctly as much as possible.
That's Scorpion, right?
Yeah, Scorpion in the latest Mortal Kombat movie. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Those two were real standouts for me in this movie as well. And Tom Cruise acting off of them and with them elevates this movie so much beyond just it being a good movie where it's at already.
Yeah.
I love that like we were saying, you know, it's what was it? Where was I? I got lost in it. So this movie is like, for me, it is an example of like expert filmmaking. It's not necessarily the type of movie that I think I would always want to put like in an S tier, because I think in some places it might run a little too long for my tastes. But outside of that, if I were to like completely remove that, because I don't think that's necessarily fair to hold against this movie at all, I would argue that this is easily one of the best movies that we have on the list here, and that if anyone hasn't seen it, they absolutely should. Especially like PJ was saying, if they have the dumb opinion that this is a white savior movie, because literally the white guy is the one who gets saved in the movie, not the other way around.
He's not only there to save Japan, you guys. Like, that's not the movie. The internet.
Yeah.
I can't wait till we get to some of these opinions about another movie later.
This movie for me, like, just because there's other movies that connect more with me on the list, just because those movies are on this list, I would put this one in A tier. If those movies weren't there, this would easily be an S tier for me. And again, like I said at the top, not to take the wind out of the sails of this whole thing, pretty much all these movies are S and A for me. So
also, I want to highlight real quick too, like, the Hans Zimmer score in this movie is so great. Like, this is a score I go back and listen to a ton. I think it's actually one of his last great scores. Zimmer is a guy that I like a lot, but has become repetitious over time. This one does not. It stands out. Like, it's something about this score is just really, really fantastic. Also, Timothy Spall and Billy Connolly are so great.
Why is Billy Connolly is in? I was watching this and he pops up like, why is Billy Connolly in a movie about samurais? What the hell?
I love it, man. Like, Billy Connolly pops up in things and you're just like, what
the hell is he doing?
And I love that because, like, he's a British comedian, but like the Boondock Saints.
Yeah.
Like this. What are you doing here, Billy Connolly? Like, we're happy to have you, but like, what? So it's just, this movie is great, you guys.
What was it? The Boondock Saints. Two Deuce. Thanks.
Yeah, El Duce. El Duce.
Yeah, El Duce. I just remember Mark Ellis called him Two Deuce.
Yeah, Two Deuce. I think. Yeah, I think that sounds right.
That's so funny.
Boondock Saints.
Yeah. So let's stick this in the high A. Looking over. Yeah, Commentating Nerd. He already knows what's coming. The samurai can never go back.
Yeah.
And I agree. Cruise and Watanabe act off each other very well. The scenes of them like communicating or whatever it is that he's learning. It's so one of those where the dialogue is just so good.
And they're so good at it. That's like, yeah. Oh, dude.
Yeah.
All right. Next one we're moving to, which I believe this is back to PJ.
All right.
Collateral.
All right. This is where we're getting into dicey area, because it could be very easy for me to throw this in the S tier like right away. And the reason for that is that, once again, here's a movie that it doesn't feel like it's selling itself as a movie that Tom Cruise is the star in. It feels like they wrote a movie that Tom Cruise decided to go, I think I can do this, and I want to try something different. It's the first time we've really seen him play a villain in an action film. You can argue he's the villain in Magnolia, and that's fine. But like in an action film, we had not seen this side of him. And dude, this movie is so great. this was the first Michael Mann movie I ever saw. The night that this movie came out, I went to go see it. I was not old enough to get into an R-rated movie yet by myself. My mom bought me a ticket to go see it, and then she went to go see the Lizzie McGuire movie. And I was like the youngest person at the Collateral screening by myself watching this movie. Jamie Foxx and Tom Cruise are so good. Some people don't know this is officially a Transporter film. Jason Statham has a cameo as his character from the Transporter franchise at the beginning of the movie. This movie is so good. The performances are ridiculous, and I could watch it forever. This movie is far and away one of the standouts in his entire career. Oh my God, I think it has to be S tier right now. I was trying to talk myself down into A, but I think it has to be.
Thank you, Lizzie
S tier.
McGuire.
Yeah, thank you, Lizzie McGuire, for existing at the same time as Collateral. Yeah, man, I go back to this movie a lot. That whole last bit on the train, the last line of dialogue of his character. Spoiler alert: he dies at the end, but like that last line and just the way he delivers it, it's so good, man. It's so good. This movie's fantastic. Yeah, I'll go S tier.
Chris.
Yeah, put it in S.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, here's the thing. Like, PJ, you're fighting with yourself on where to put it. It's prior to seeing another movie that is on this list, this was at the top of my whole list here. This was the best of the list for me. So this is easily S tier for myself. I'm just sad that I watched it. I got to it way too late. I wish I had seen it years ago, kind of a thing.
Totally.
Tom Cruise proving that he can play a crazy, intimidating bad guy.
Yeah.
He puts the fear of God right into me watching this movie. And I love how he works with Jamie Foxx, and it's great because like his character is frightening, but at the same time he's the type of bad guy that's like, look, you can believe me, you can trust me, I'm gonna work with you here, just do what I say, everything's gonna be all right, don't worry about it. And then like the second you turn against him, he's gonna be like, look, I told you to listen to me. And just Tom Cruise is somebody that has a calm demeanor. So when you take that calm demeanor and you put it into a villain role and you allow him to play off of what he knows and what he's used to doing, and then on top of that, you say, okay, but just be a little unhinged also. That was absolutely, this is the perfect villain role for him. There's just so much about this. If I were to try hard to find something about this movie to dislike, why would you do that? If I were to try hard to find something about this movie to dislike, it's that it just ends.
Dude, and again, like, I just want to say that, like, his last line, "Hey, Max, a guy gets on the MTA here in LA and dies. Think anybody will notice?" Like, just that idea of him accepting defeat in that moment. Like, are you kidding me? Oh my God, It's so good. It's so good.
It's good, but I just hate that the movie just, like, that happens, and then it's like 2 seconds later, credits.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I have against it. And it's still at the top of the S tier for me. So, well, second to the top of the S tier for me.
So, guys, this is what makes the Marquee interesting. Is
don't do it.
Don't you do it. Don't you do it.
Fucking do it.
Chris
is that you might have like a couple of people like really gushing about a movie, and then it gets to that last person, they're like, okay.
I will tackle your ass again.
This would be like what, the fourth tackle?
I mean, you're gonna fucking deserve it if you do this.
I don't even physically feel like I should do it, but I'm gonna do it.
I absolutely love seeing him as the villain. Kind of like what y'all were saying. Him being able to be like calm. Nerd's losing his shit in the chat right now.
Everyone's losing their shit with you right now. Are you kidding me?
Guys, I'm trying to keep this entertaining, y'all. Let's
stay subscribed to me. Stay subscribed for me.
Find me on Twitter.
Batman 89 take is better. Hold on, y'all don't know where I'm going with this. So I absolutely love Tom Cruise as the villain in this. I completely agree. Seeing him play the villain is amazing. He does so good at it. I had on the notes here, he had like a Terminator type of quality to him in that he, no matter what happens, he will keep going.
Yeah.
Nothing will stop him from achieving what he needs to achieve. And I love that in this movie. I love both Jamie Foxx and Jada Pinkett in this. The only thing, like, I do remember there's the part like kind of towards the middle where they go to visit a club, and I feel like that kind of like pulls down the movie. I don't like that's the part where I might like start nodding off a bit, just because it feels like it gets a little dead at this club. But otherwise, I do really enjoy this movie. It's a lot of fun to watch, but it's not an S tier movie for me. I would put it in A. I would put this like high, like maybe high A.
Well, you know what's funny? We said S, so you're putting it in S.
Yeah, I mean, we got 2 out of 3 is saying S, and that's like kind of the reverse of what just happened with Last Samurai. So,
thank God there was 2 of us.
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, Garth nodding off a bit during Collateral.
Get him, Garth. Get him.
Not necessarily like actually sleeping, but I felt like that's where it kind of got like a little slow.
Now, in defense of my brother, he does love sleep, and he is capable of sleeping in any movie.
Almost any movie.
I've been to the theater with you. You're capable of sleeping in any movie.
Spoiler alert, I was glued to the screen for Top Gun Maverick, so with the exception of the bit that I had to go to the bathroom because I had to pee. But otherwise, yeah.
So sad.
And I hated doing that, even though I guess I really didn't miss much, but
no. You watched everything. You missed everything if you walk out at any moment in
time. William Harold. It gets a little dead because Tom Cruise kills him.
Well done, William.
It's fair. That's fair.
Anyways, next movie. And this one we're going to start with Chris.
Yay.
War of the Worlds.
There it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
I was waiting for this one.
Let me, real quick, where did I put this?
Let me scroll to the bottom of my notes on here. Okay.
Right. So this is one that I think a lot of people would immediately, given this list, this would probably be the one that people would say, okay, well, we got to fill a spot in the F tier. Let's probably slide it in there.
That's where it's going to go. Yes, but continue.
For me, it is D tier. Again, this is not to say anything against the movie, because outside of one movie on this list, I pretty much like every movie on this list. I did enjoy this. I did enjoy this take on War of the Worlds. I thought Tom Cruise as dad trying to protect his kids was a really good role for him. Again, this is another situation where this role is a little bit different than some of the other roles that you'd normally find him in, but it isn't as bad as I think some people might make it out to be. It might not be as good as, say, like the original War of the Worlds, which I still need to, honestly, I do need to watch the original still. I'll admit that.
Which one?
But sure. Yeah, the answer is yes. But for me, like it is enjoyable. I do like the performances that Tom Cruise puts on, that Dakota Fanning puts on.
I mean, the screaming that Dakota Fanning puts on.
Yes, the screaming that Dakota Fanning puts on. Yes, exactly. It is D tier for me. I mean, it ends up in D tier because, again, we're doing a ranking list where I'm comparing it with the other movies that are on this list. I enjoyed it. I think it is a good movie by itself. Compared to other movies on this list, it's going to slide into that D spot for me. Yes, I'm going to keep saying it like that. I don't care.
Please, God. That's not what I need this channel known for.
I'm going to slide it into the D.
What? All right. So War of the Worlds. Forgettable movie. Like, I for the most part, other than the people that are on the poster, I forget who else is in this movie. I believe Tim Robbins is in this movie.
Yep. Yes.
Okay. I only remember that because of my love for Shawshank Redemption, which I feel like should go without question. Like, I'm going to remember Tim Robbins in this. Also, Tim Robbins in Top Gun. So, interesting. Yeah, this movie sucks. I'm not a fan. I don't remember like anything from it. And to be honest, I maybe should have watched this again before this, but there's not enough time. And
this is your Minority Report on this list. Like, Minority Report was for me. Like, you probably should have watched this again.
Probably should have watched it again, but I just remember like now. I will say, what Nerd just so happens to make this comment at the same time. I want to point it out. Special effects wise, it is really good. Again, those of y'all who may not watch the Corridor Crew on YouTube, they do a lot of, they're special effects artists. They do a lot of like reactions to special effects in movies. They'll usually get like a lot of special effects artists. They've covered War of the Worlds and like a lot of the stuff that went into it. And it's very well done from a special effects point of view. And it's gorgeous that way. But the movie overall, the story, F.
All right.
PJ.
Just going to get it out of the way. This is a D tier movie. I can't put it as far as F. Number one, I think it has one of the greatest, most tense invasion sequences of all time. The handheld camera work of that first time and just hearing dude, we talk about the special effects, but the sound effects in this movie, like the FX editing just for the sound and the music is just like incredible. That sound that the Martians make as they're attacking and like it's haunting, it's scary. I remember it shook the theater. Like it's got one of the greatest sound designs of all time, and I really mean that, hands down. This has got one of the greatest sound designs of any movie ever made. But there's like two great scenes in this movie: the invasion scene and the Tim Robbins scene.
Mm-hmm.
As a Spielberg fan, Spielberg is my favorite filmmaker. He has been my favorite filmmaker pretty much as long as I can remember. This is a movie of his that I never go back to, really. It's a movie that really, it's trying very hard to find the human emotion that Spielberg tends to mine in everything he does, but it's missing something. I don't know exactly what it is. There's such a disconnect between the story and the characters that I never feel like I really care ultimately about what's going to happen. Like, I kind of want Robbie to die, if I'm honest. Like, I just don't care. Like,
what did I do?
I want Justin Chatwin to die. Happy? That sounds way worse because now I just said that I want the actor to die.
Oh yeah, but that Goku looking motherfucker. Yeah,
correct. Like,
wow.
I just, something about this movie doesn't quite work. The Tim Robbins scene is super tense and super, like, that's a great 20-minute sequence. The invasion is great, but there's nothing else about it that really stands out. Like, Cruise is fine. Dakota Fanning spends the entire movie fucking screaming. Like, I have to take Tylenol by the time it's over because she's screaming so goddamn much. It's just not a movie I really go back to, but I can't fault it anywhere lower than D because, again, the sound design, the effects, like, it's still a Spielberg movie. Like, there's something about it that still, we talk about it, right? Like, we still think about it because it's Spielberg. So for that, them working together again, the incredible practical work with the plane and stuff like that. Like, I've walked through that set's still there. Like, it's remarkable stuff, man. Like, they destroyed a real 747 to do that. Amazing. It just, and I don't think that Cruise is sleepwalking through the movie, Commenting Nerd. I actually think he is trying to do something different that he had never really done. He'd really never played the hyperactive parent trying to save his kids, really. But it was just a role that it turned out he just wasn't really cut out for it. It just wasn't made for him. That's okay. Like, it's a totally fine movie that sounds great and looks incredible, but it's a D tier Tom Cruise movie.
There is an aspect of it, like at the beginning before the aliens start invading, there's a weird like glow to it. I don't know why that choice was made, but it was kind of hurting my eyes for a little bit at the beginning. And I was like, I don't know what's going on here. Why it's got this weird glow to it.
It's almost.
Your mom has a weird glow that hurts my eyes.
That's the mom, you idiot.
That seemed really unnecessary.
Very unnecessary.
Anyway,
I apologize, PJ. What were you saying there?
I don't know anymore. I just heard an unnecessary comment towards my friend Chris, and it just felt really hurtful.
And his mother. Oh wait,
Same-
she's my mom too.
Same mom.
Yeah, never mind. Anyways, okay, so low end of D for right now.
Yeah.
Let's see. I feel like a lot of the chat seems to be Rob Schneider. It says better than Reacher.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I said this was a forgettable movie, and of course Amber in here with the Your Face is a forgettable movie.
See, that
What's
was not
funny is I can
unnecessary.
hear her saying this comment.
She's not wrong.
Yeah, she's not wrong, and you probably deserve that.
Thanks, PJ. Bad enough I get it from Amber. I don't need you reinforcing her.
That's what I do.
So let's get back to Mission Impossible 3.
Nope. I think it's you.
It is me. What did I have to say about this movie? I don't remember.
Nice. Well, act like you do remember.
So I feel like this was like a good like return back to Mission Impossible from like Mission Impossible 2, with Mission Impossible 2 being very stylized with John Woo. I feel like this was starting to get like a little back to where the franchise goes forward from here. A lot like the first one as well. Philip Seymour Hoffman is probably the best person to talk about from this movie. Him as a villain in this is so good. Him talking about what he's going to do to Ethan Hunt's girlfriend is just that dialogue, that monologue that he does is so good. And like even though I feel like out of everything else that I've seen Philip Seymour Hoffman in, I haven't felt like real like tension and fear except in that monologue, that dialogue he does. I absolutely love it. There's a couple of scenes in this movie that's extremely unbelievable. What was funny about this, I'll tell a quick story. Both me and my brother, my brother knows where I'm going with this. Both me and my brother had rewatched the entire Mission Impossible franchise for this tier ranking. We both have seen all of them over and over again, but we decided to watch through them again for reasons that I will point out later when we get to like Rogue Nation and stuff. I was watching this and the same time that he was, and I guess I was a little further ahead than you were. And there was a part in this movie that is just absolutely unbelievable. It just does not make logical sense at all whatsoever. So I run over to his room, bust in. And I was like, this movie is stupid. Did you like, there's something that happens in this movie that's just completely unbelievable. I can't believe they did it. It doesn't make sense at all. And I didn't tell him what it is. I just left him to wait till he gets to that part to guess. And then he came back later and he's like, was that part when Ethan Hunt is dangling Philip Seymour Hoffman's character over the edge of the airplane while the airplane's open and you hear Luther screaming Ethan's name? And then they pull Philip Seymour Hoffman up and he's like, good to know, Ethan. Like he learned what Ethan's name was because of that dialogue. Like, yeah.
A lot of disbelief being suspended there.
That's not happening in real life.
There's no shot he heard Ethan's name being said in that moment.
Without even the tension of the scene. You hold a person's head that close to the opening of an airplane that's that high up in the air, they're not hearing any shit happening on that airplane at all. Just,
fun little anecdote.
Yeah, just that completely took me out of the movie. It was one of the funniest things I've seen in an action movie in quite a while. I would say
that being said,
Tom Cruise does good in this. The scenes of going back to Tom Cruise with Julia in this movie, where Philip Seymour Hoffman has a gun to Julia's head and is counting down
9,
like the opening scene.
8.
Gorgeous. That is such a high tension scene. I love it. Very well done.
I'm getting yelled at by Chance because we put War of the Worlds in D. He's texting me.
Well,
let him. Let him.
Yeah. It's a fun movie. I think it's better than Mission Impossible 2. I would probably still put this like slightly under the first Mission Impossible. I'd still put it in B, but it's not going to be a high B.
Okay. So I think that there's a lot that we need to talk about with this movie in a lot of specific ways for a lot of different reasons that make this movie a little bit more important, that I have to put it above the first one. Time frame wise, Cruise is out of public conscience as a person of note at the time, if you will. He had some episodes. He was not a bankable actor. They were worried if they could even get this movie off the ground. It went through quite a few different directors: Joe Carnahan, David Fincher. We landed on J.J. Abrams. This is J.J. Abrams' directorial debut with a feature film. It's the first time that Bad Robot comes into the production side of a Mission Impossible movie, and they turn the franchise around. This is the first time that they really start to feel like the story and stuff kind of matters. This is the beginning of a sea change for the entire franchise. I think it's actually arguably one of the weaker directed movies because JJ is still trying to get his feet as a director on big budget movies. He's only really been doing television. But we first get Simon Pegg. We get a lot of the world building of what the franchise is going to become as we move forward. I think that there's some really great stuff. Kerry Russell's really good in this. Lawrence Fishburne's really good in this. Philip Seymour Hoffman gives a performance for the ages. It's the greatest villain role in this franchise. Crudup is really good. Like Maggie Q is so good. Jonathan Rhys Meyers is so good. And we get Michelle Monaghan. And it's such a believable relationship between her and Ethan. Like, yeah. I actually fully believe that he's trying to be out because he loves this woman and he wants to be there. And to me, it was the first time Ethan felt human. And that's very important moving forward for this franchise. I needed to buy into that this actually mattered and what was happening was like tangible. All that coalesces into being one of the most surprising movies to come out, in my opinion, at that time, as far as like 2006 is concerned. Like, we talk about the War of the Worlds thing being the year before, but like the grand scheme of what was happening around Cruise at the time and his movies at the time, like this was a big deal that this movie hit. And it did pretty well. Not great. It didn't make a ton of, like, enough to get a sequel, but it was the reception to the movie that mattered. And the reception to the movie being so high, I think this is the start of a second phase of his career where he starts to rebound and really locks into, you know what, man? I'm really going to put myself on the line every time I do something. I'm really going to push myself as an actor. I'm really going to push myself to like entertain the audience, and I'm going to give them the thing that they want to see from me. They want to see these action beats. They want to see me put my life on the line. That's where that whole building slide comes from. Like, we hadn't really seen that in this franchise to this point. Like, things like that where he was kind of doing death-defying things at this point. So, Mission Impossible 3, I think, alone for that is B tier, just over the first, because I think it starts the sea change for the franchise moving forward.
And the movie actors insurance companies went ka-ching, ka-ching.
Right. That was my very passionate, please rewatch Mission Impossible 3 if you have not, because I think it's a very great movie.
Sure, but I just want everyone to also laugh during that plane scene.
I mean, so no, funny. You should 100%. Is it ridiculous?
So stupid.
Absolutely. It's so dumb, but I enjoy it.
Chris.
So here's the thing. This is an example of the Marquee where one person talking can convince the other person to maybe put the movie higher on their tier than they initially were placing it. Because
I feel convinced.
I had this kind of next to MI2, above MI2, mind you, better than MI2. But it was definitely under the first one for me. But now I can hear arguments as to why it might be better than the first one. First of all, I will say that again, just to reiterate, Philip Seymour Hoffman, best part of the movie, easily,
100%. Easily.
Yeah.
It's an incredible performance.
Rewatching this movie makes me miss him even more as an actor, and one of those like we lost him way too soon.
Yeah,
he had so much good career still ahead of him. I loved him in the villain role. I thought he was fantastic. I think that is one of the big sells of this movie. That and like you guys were saying, or like you were saying, PJ, you know, this is the movie that kind of steers the ship back in the right direction for where the Mission Impossible franchise is supposed to go. Mm-hmm. It is the one that sets the tone for all the future MI movies coming down the line. I did have it above MI2 just because it was, you know, I don't think there was enough like going on that was, you know, plot wise was like twisting and turning for me in terms of what I like and what I think what we see happen in future movies. But at the same time, for all the reasons you stated, I think it does belong higher than the D tier where I initially put it. So,
I'll take it.
Yeah. I would say I'm convinced as well as far as putting it above the first Mission Impossible movie.
Way to go, PJ.
Thanks, guys.
Good discussion there.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Look, I'm passionate about it. It matters.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that thank you for being open to my plea for the movie.
Absolutely. This one I want to see who's passionate for this because this is going to be a fun conversation, not for the obvious reasons, but also I like this because this is the only movie on our list that does not have Tom Cruise on the official poster or even in the image that I used for this. And that would be Tropic Thunder.
Oh, God.
PJ,
okay.
We're going to start with you on this. And I already know right off the bat, you and I agree on a very, very strong opinion of this movie. And I love the fact that we agree on that.
You saw my tweet the other day. You saw my tweet.
That too, yeah.
Yeah. Look,
I
man,
mean, to be honest, I had that opinion before I saw that tweet totally. Also. And I had already planned to talk about that during this, but go ahead.
I'm lost.
Okay, so what's so fascinating about this is there's two ways to look at this, right? Because this performance, this is another thing I love about Tom Cruise in this time and the trying to win the audience back over, because 2 years basically go by between 06 and 08 for this movie to come out. And he decides that he needs to do something to be like, I can be funny. I can make people laugh with me and at me at the same time and try to make people look at me and go, I'm a guy. He's trying to get the audience back on his side. So what does he do? He fucking puts on a fat suit and plays a character that is basically every Hollywood media mogul that you've ever heard of in one scene, in like one place, is in one character. This character of Les Grossman is remarkable. It is such a great performance from him. And it's so fun to watch him doing something so wildly different and so wildly out of character, to the point that I actually would love to see him do more comedy, because a lot of his roles don't, like, he has funny moments, but he is a gifted comedian. Like, he's so good at doing stuff like this. It is such a great performance that the MTV Movie Awards, I think the next year, end up deciding to have him as like their spokesperson, because there's clips of him yelling at like Robert Pattinson about his hair and like how he got him Twilight. This character lived on past the movie because it became so popular. It was so much fun to watch, and we desperately deserved a movie off of it. He and Ben had worked on one. It never took off. In hindsight, maybe that was better, but I think there's still a way to do it. Like, to be honest with you, I got a little pushback from people being like, well, now in this day and age, I think you can still do the character and like rehabilitate the character in an interesting way that would still be fun and still be Les Grossman. The Scorched Earth motherfucker, like, that whole sequence, and then just like hanging up the phone in the "we don't negotiate with terrorists," and just like the way the whole room claps for him. His scenes with McConaughey are incredible. Like, it's such a great performance.
Hey, Tugger nuts.
It's so good, and this movie is so good. We're at an impasse, though, and that impasse is very interesting because this is not really a Tom Cruise movie. It is a Tom Cruise movie that he happens, or it's a movie with a bunch of people that Tom Cruise happens to be in. It is a very different thing, and that's the problem. So I wanted to go out on a limb and like say everything great about this before I have to say this is probably C tier right now. And that's a hard thing to say because this, again, I think that this performance changes his whole career in like the trajectory moving forward. People started being like, oh man, Cruise is great. He's funny. Like, he's actually likable again. But it's not a Tom Cruise movie. It is a movie that Tom Cruise happens to be in, but he's so good I can't give it a D tier, but it is definitely a C tier.
Chris.
For those reasons, that's why I have it in the F tier, not because it deserves to be in the F tier, but because as we are looking at this entire list, this is the same issue that we had with Nicolas Cage. It seems to be like we're gonna have this tradition where there's one movie on the list that, if you look at it from a certain point of view, fits the criteria of what we're doing for the list, but not completely. This is an action movie. Yes. Tom Cruise is in this movie. Yes. But this is not a Tom Cruise action movie.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I slide this one in the F tier, not so much in the other tiers.
Yeah.
That being said, I will say I'm probably not as big a fan of this movie as much as other people are. I think it's still a good movie. I think it's still a funny movie. It's still a fun movie. So don't let that be the reason you're thinking I'm sticking this in F. Again, there's only one movie on this list that I actually truly feel like deserves to be in the F tier. But in comparison to the rest of the movies and what we're doing with this list, that's where I would stick it right now. I will say, again, like you were saying, the character of Les Grossman, hilarious. And we 100% still need to find a way to make that movie happen.
Yeah.
I think we can bring it back up because Tom Cruise eventually, maybe another 20 years from now, will eventually be in a position where he can't do these big action stunts anymore. Maybe
I mean,
not.
I think
We'll
he's
see.
already kind of doing that, to be honest. Like, we'll kind of get to it with Maverick, but Maverick feels like an indication that he's aware
Slowing down.
that it's, yeah, there's something, we'll talk about it when we get to it, but I think we're closer to that side than I think people are ready to admit, and that's not a bad thing. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, because I mean, you got like the next two Mission Impossible movies. I think those are the those are the end of the big stunt Tom Cruise action heyday. In which case, what do you do with the rest of your career? There's no shot. I mean, dude's got energy left in him, even if he's not doing stunts. What do? You pull out this character again, and you do a movie based around this character.
Yeah,
because he can still do that.
And I think that people, seeing everything that's happened, obviously that it would be a tightrope to walk it, but I think it's almost important that they do. I think Hollywood needs to be a lot more self-aware sometimes, and a movie like this in the current Hollywood atmosphere feels actually vital, more than I think people realize. I think that this is the perfect time to really take a look at some of what happened, some of what was going on, and kind of dealing with it head on. It just makes too much sense.
I forget about this. He is working on that movie too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In space movie.
We'll see.
Yeah, for me, I mean this one slides for this list, for this particular list and what we're doing with it. This movie slides into that F tier slot for me, the other F tier slot.
Fair.
Thank God it's not sliding into the D.
Nope, it's sliding into the F.
Man, okay.
God damn it.
This is a fantastic meta movie. Like the meta-ness of this is just so good. Yes, everything y'all said about Les Grossman, I absolutely concur. He should have his own movie. They should bring him back in some form or another. It would almost, if he was willing to do it, it would be great seeing like maybe a series of short videos.
Totally.
Where it's just him interacting with actual popular Hollywood actors in real life. He's still Les Grossman, but the actual actor that he's interacting with is the real actor.
That's what they did with the MTV Movie Awards. It was great.
Yeah, that I would love to continue seeing stuff like that. As for the movie as a whole, again, the stuff that they did that was meta, I thought was pretty good. Giving like the fake trailers and seeing these actors like as they're trying to act in a movie, but still like in the shit type of thing. I thought it was pretty good. It does have some slow points in it. I will say the thing with this movie that I find that's really good, and it's almost like controversial, and the actual subject of it is still like how many times I see people still talking about this movie because of Robert Downey Jr.
Every year, some new child discovers this movie and attacks Robert Downey Jr.
And I love it.
No understanding that this is the point of the joke.
I was like, that is
every year.
Every single time I hear someone use the phrase, tell me you haven't seen this movie without telling me you haven't seen this movie. This is the end all be all example of that. When people are like, I can't stand that he's in blackface. He's not in blackface. Kurt Lazarus is in blackface. He is a white Australian actor who's method.
He's a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
I love it. It's so
till the
funny.
DVD commentary.
Yeah. I don't drop character to the DVD. Yeah, I love that. It is so funny. The fact that they actually did it, got away with it, even at that time, and the fact that it's still a thing that's talked about nowadays, is so great. That being said, I do believe that this is like a C tier movie in general, especially when comparing to the other Tom Cruise movies on here. Yes, this is not a Tom Cruise movie, but Tom Cruise, I mean, if we were ranking this solely based off of Tom Cruise's performance, this would easily be S tier.
Totally.
Easily. But the overall movie is still a C tier movie. It's great. It's fun to watch, but
I think the ranking for this movie would end up differently if we were ranking like 2000s comedies.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, while we were sitting here talking about this, and I had this realization, you know what Cruise should do? They should really do another like Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, but where Cruise plays himself. Like, they should just make a series of these movies of actors doing that sort of thing.
That was the idea that I had after we had seen, immediately after watching Unbearable Weight. I was like, I want to see a sequel to this, but I want to see like, was it Tiffany Haddish and what's his face? Ike Barinholtz. I want to see them. They are a part of like some special FBI, CIA task force, and all they're doing is hiring celebrities to play themselves in an operation. So they go and they get like Tom Cruise or Helen Mirren or Meryl Streep or something. And that's the point of the movie, is they're playing themselves, but an exaggerated version of themselves while they're doing this job for the CIA.
It's easy. It's called Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent to Cruise Control.
Exactly. You get it. It sells itself. I'd watch the shit out of that movie.
You take the speed to
the speed to.
Yeah. We finally make that title worth something.
So I say C. PJ, you're saying C?
Yeah, I said C. I would say
F.
I would say under Top Gun for now. If it slides into D, it's
slide into D.
Slide it into D. It's still gonna slide into that D.
Slide into the D.
Ladies and gentlemen, that puts us at halfway through the ranking of this. So that being said, we've been streaming so far for an hour and 40 minutes. We want to step it up just a little bit, but real quick, I do want to take a quick second. Going back to the plugs, y'all have any questions, comments, issues, something that you want to complain about, you want to make sure you get our attention, streamlabs.com/cinefanatics. Yeah, everyone just point up because that's the direction it goes. Yeah, put in those questions, those comments. You want to make sure you want us to take your opinion into consideration. That's a good way to do it. Streamlabs. The other thing I want to talk about again,
I'm gonna do the professional thing real quick. Potty break during this segment.
Feel free to do that. The other thing I want to talk about real quick is, again, those of y'all who didn't see at the top of this program that we are presenting, we did a new thing a couple of days ago at the Cinefanatics. We did a thing called Deconstructed Trailers. We take a movie trailer and we change the editing of it and put it in the order that we believe that the movie is going to play in. We did this with the second Thor trailer that came out not too long ago, the Thor Love and Thunder that came out last Monday. I took it and the teaser trailer and reorganized them into the order that I think it's going to play in the movie. Go check that out. Give us some comments. Let us know your thoughts. I had a lot of fun putting this together. I want feedback on this. I want to know if y'all are enjoying it, what y'all did like, what you didn't like. I would love for this to become a series just as long as it sells well. So make sure y'all go see that. It's on our channel. It's live right now. Just a couple of days ago, it went live. So go watch that. It's like less than 5 minutes, easily digestible content. So
nice.
Anyways,
great plug, Bart. Great plug.
Thank you, sir. Anyways, we're going to go and what is the next movie? Next movie is going to be Night and Day. And this one's going to be a lot of fun to talk about because
I am so excited to talk about this movie.
This is a movie, like, I had an opinion about this movie before. I had not watched this movie before needing to watch it for this tier ranking, and I have a certain opinion before watching this movie, and I have a radically different opinion after watching it. I think, we're going to start with Chris on this one, though.
Yes, sir.
Start with him. I will be right back while he talks.
All right, my turn. All right, so I got to keep this going long enough for him to depart. So here's the thing with Night and Day. This is a movie that I saw. I know that I watched at some point before, but decided this is one of the movies I rewatched for this ranking too, just to refresh. This movie is a lot of fun. This movie is actually a lot of fun. And I think what a lot of people think going into this, maybe even after watching it the first time and not really like giving it, the due it deserves, I think that they walk away from this movie thinking, it was just a funny little, it's a comedy, hey, fun. All right, moving on. This movie actually does a lot of things. This movie, and I know he'll want to talk on this too, a lot of things in terms of like the meta commentary to Tom Cruise as an action star. And
without me.
Yeah, with me, without me.
Without me.
That's
so good.
Like, this movie is probably, if I look at this entire list, I would be hard pressed to say there's not another movie on this list that I think Tom Cruise had more fun making than this one. Maybe for different reasons. For different reasons, he enjoys doing the Mission Impossible movies and all that. But as far as just being able to, like, balls to the wall, just do whatever I want and have fun doing it, this movie feels like that movie to me. I can tell it by his performance in there. He's just getting to just be himself, and he's just having fun being himself, essentially. And then, of course, Cameron Diaz gets to enjoy playing off of that version of Tom Cruise as well. And because of that, I think her performance also elevates in terms of comedically, in terms of just being able to dive in and be just who she is in this movie as well. I enjoy it. I think it's a lot of fun. After rewatching it, I could see this being a movie that goes high on my list of movies that I would throw on and rewatch just to have a movie to have a good time with at some point. So for that, I think, where did I put it? It was, let's see. Well, all that, After saying all that, it ends up at the top of C for me. But again, that's just commentating on like how much all these movies are really good.
Yeah.
So that says to me that all the other movies I have on here are really good too. I think it's really good. It's still at the top of C for me.
Good night, Maxwell.
Bye, Maxwell. Did you not like the opinion, or he has to go to sleep? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good night, Maxwell. Thank you for stopping by. Where were you putting this, Chris?
Top of C.
Okay. I loved this movie. But again, before watching it, I saw the preview, the trailers, and I was like, nah, it just looks like a very meh movie. This movie's really good. It's meta without being meta, and I love that about it. It is Tom Cruise playing Tom Cruise as Tom Cruise. Like it's this. There's different parts of this movie that I kind of felt like this feels very much like a Mel Brooks movie. If Mel Brooks was trying to make a serious movie but still couldn't help himself. Like the stuff that he's doing, like Tom Cruise is acting like Ethan Hunt, but he's doing it in a way that he's aware of it. And I feel like that really sells this movie. Like every time Cameron Diaz turns around, Tom Cruise's character is doing something just, again, stupidly over the top, doesn't make any sense, but still manages to save the day and get his way out of it.
Hey, you're doing great. You're doing great. You're doing a fantastic job.
Yeah. Like I love what he does in this movie. Now the thing is if it didn't do that, if it didn't cover like the comedic side of it, this would be just a very nonchalant, this dude's a badass and he's just coming in to save the day. Much like, let's say, Jack Reacher, preview for what we're about to talk about here in a little bit. Like those types of movies where it's just a guy that has skills and he uses these skills to hurt other people or to right some wrongs type of thing. I love that he does that in this, but it's the humor that sells this movie while still being a very entertaining story. So, I put this in A. This is an A tier.
I mean, look, it's James Mangold, Tom Cruise, Cameron Diaz.
Yeah.
This movie rules. Like, it's so much fun. It has such a big heart. Cruise is having the time of his life, like Chris said. Like, you can tell he's just having so much fun doing it. Mangold is an incredible action director. He really gets the nuance between pushing Cruise into parody, but also doing it lovingly and letting Cruise be Cruise in a movie where it's kind of mocking spy films in a way. Like, it really is kind of a self-referential type parody. There's something really fun about this movie that just sings every time I watch it. Like, it's the best way to describe it. I'm sorry you don't agree. That's your problem.
Would you tell Chance to stop interrupting? Jeez.
God, really?
Jesus Christ. I'll say it, man. Like, I think this movie's just super great. I think it allows him to have some of the most fun he can possibly have. It's a good movie, man. I think it's more B tier overall than A tier, just because there's some stuff that I want to put on a little bit higher. But this movie is so good. And I think it gets overlooked a lot because it's that weird time period where people are still reacclimating to Cruise, but also kind of to Robert's point, I think they looked at it and they're like, well, that looks kind of dumb. Well, it kind of is, but that's really the point.
Yeah.
And I mean, it should be said, like, Gal Gadot's in this, Viola Davis is in this.
Yeah.
Like, the cast is crazy. You got, Peter Sarsgaard, Paul Dano, like, what a freaking cast for this movie early on in a lot of their careers before they become the people that we all know. So, great movie.
Where would you want to put it?
B tier for me, probably just above MI3.
Okay, so we got B, A, and Chris, you were putting it in C.
Mm-hmm.
So B. And then, probably going to end up the high B there.
That's oof. Man, it's getting dicey right now, guys. Like, you got to understand, it's It's getting real dicey real quick.
That's the fun of doing like the tier rankings. And I'll be honest, like running this channel, going back and seeing like the analytics of, are we gonna put it over MI3?
I think that we should, but if someone thinks it should go between the two, I'm cool with that.
I mean, here's the thing. Like on my list, I have it over MI3. I have all the movies a little bit lower than B.
Right.
Okay. So I will put it over MI3 then. Going back and looking at the analytics of this channel, even though we do consider the Tagline as our flagship show, Tagline, that would be Wednesday nights at
Nice plug.
At 8, it was at 8 Eastern or 8 Pacific, 10
Pacific.
Eastern.
6 Pacific.
Yeah, that where we get to talk about movie news and like actually give our thoughts and opinions on stuff that's happening in the movie world. Sometimes do like spoilery reviews. This is actually, the Marquee is actually becoming like probably the most watched show that we're doing on this. So, I mean, it's stuff like this, having these kinds of opinions, getting people that are familiar with the content, like PJ, being extremely familiar with the content, even like changing some of our opinions just with the way you word things. This is a great show. I love it. I love doing the Marquees.
It is a great show. What's the next movie?
By the way, stay tuned towards at the end of this. We're going to do something new where we're going to tell you what the Marquee is for next month. So, and you'll want to know because it's going to be a lot of fun. Next week, speaking of a lot of fun, this is one that I feel like, yep, we're going to have a lot of fun with this. That's going to be Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. Fuck. Yeah, pretty much.
Yep.
Whose turn is this to go?
I did 9 days.
Me? Chris, you started Night and Day. Ghost Protocol, easily far and beyond the best of the entire Mission Impossible franchise thus far. This is an S tier movie. I was hooked. My suspense was enthralled the entire movie. The climbing of the Burj Khalifa will always make me go, no, 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 no. Even though I know how it's going to turn out, I know what's going to happen. I'm still sitting there on the edge of my seat every fucking time watching this movie. I absolutely love everything they do in this movie. It's so good. Did I have anything in the actual notes, or did I just want to gush about it the entire time?
Just gush about it.
Yeah, it's easy. The action scenes are very easy to follow. It's not one of those where you get lost in what they're doing and like who's punching what. I feel like this is the most like audience engaging. The ability to hold your attention throughout the entirety of this movie. It's very well written, very well made. I feel like this is what really like kind of like piggybacking off what PJ was saying with MI3. This is what took that idea that J.J. Abrams was starting with MI3 and really, really nailed it. And this is what I use now as the comparison for all the other Mission Impossible movies. When we go see Dead Reckoning Part 1, this is what I'm going to be comparing it to. This is S tier for me.
All right. This movie is great. And everything Robert said is accurate, except for one thing. It may not be quite the best MI movie yet. It is the movie that pushes us in the right direction. There's some incredible stuff. I think the third act's actually a little weak, ultimately. I think it loses itself towards the end, unfortunately, but it's still a ton of fun. Cruise is great. Peg gets way more to do. We start to really see the team dynamic feel out. Jeremy Renner's really fun in it, but it's missing the Ving Rhames. And it's felt throughout the movie for me. Ving Rhames is a huge part of why these movies work for me. He's the only other actor who's been in every single one of these movies since the original with Cruise. The score is fantastic. I love it a lot, but I think it's arguably a lower A tier, but actually B tier, pushing the original into C tier.
Chris?
Interesting. So, for me,
It's Batman 89 all over again. Here we go.
This one and Fallout are interchangeable in terms of being my favorite Mission Impossible movie.
Oh, damn it. No.
Yeah.
Damn you.
Because we're limited on tiers, I edge this one out just a little bit more. There's aspects of this one that I like just a little bit more than I do Fallout. And I think it is the Jeremy Renner. I think it is, obviously like Fallout and this one, like Simon Pegg gets plenty to do in both of them. I understand, and I actually, despite it being this one being S tier for me, I do agree with you, PJ, that this movie does have a lack of Luther, a significant lack of Luther.
He's in the movie, but
he's in the movie. He's just a significant
cameo it's the cameo at the end. It's just not the same.
It's you went on a fun adventure without me? Don't do that anymore. Kind of a situation.
And he gives them the finger. It's great.
I'm gonna highlight Paula Patton. I need her to come back, please. Paula Patton is wonderful, and she could be in a Mission Impossible movie anytime she wants. She could be in any movie anytime she wants, to be honest. So moving on from that, this movie is definitely an S tier for me. There's story wise, the way it all pulls together, the way everything comes together, I absolutely love this movie. And again, like, man, it's hard for me to decide between this one and Fallout which one I like the best. It's really, really, really hard for me to decide that. But I think this one does edge out slightly for a couple different reasons. I would put it in S tier for me.
So we got right behind it, though. 2 S's and 1 that's A, could go B.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw it an S for right now. But
yeah, take that, PJ.
But like, I am open to if we want to change everything around. Again, going back to the fact that PJ is really good at just talking about these movies. So
you're welcome back anytime.
I am open.
I like being here.
I am open to my religious beliefs of TC Legend being changed. Well, maybe not changed that much. Let's not go.
Careful.
I understand. We're not talking about Thetans here. We're good.
Yeah,
go start jumping on our couch
not
here
that much. So real quick before we get into the other one, we did get a Streamlabs in from a fan's view who wants us to ask Chris what 1994 sci-fi film stars Kurt Russell that involves an interdimensional portal that also stars James Spader.
How much did fans view donate for this?
$10.
I'm not answering that question.
Well played, everyone involved into that scenario. If you don't understand what that means, you're not watching our shows enough. Or you're not a part of the Patreon where we get to make fun of this in the movie study sessions, movie trivia study sessions. Anyways, moving on to the next one.
Nothing to do with Tom Cruise.
Yeah. Next one. Maybe. Jack Reacher.
Okay. And I'm starting on this one.
PJ, you're starting, yes.
All right.
Look at Rachel. Inside jokes. Well.
All right. Here we go. This movie gets slept on a lot. This movie is super important to the overall about what we're going to keep talking about as we move forward, because this is Christopher McQuarrie coming back to directing for the first time in a really long time from The Way of the Gun. He is starting to write the movies that Cruise is involved in behind the scenes. He'd done work on Valkyrie. They start a working relationship. This movie pushes Cruise out of doing the stuff that Cruise has been doing for so long. And people don't realize, like, it's not really a Mission Impossible movie. It's a much darker, different take for the stuff he's known for. This is not like a similar action movie. This is a much more brooding noir that really pushes him to actually be an actor. And especially because when he was cast, people were so upset because he's kind of the antithesis of what the character is in the books. as we've seen with the TV show with Alan Richardson, he's much more correctly cast. He's a big guy. He looks like he was in the military. He's the kind of person you wouldn't mess with. But that's why this movie in particular is so great, because you don't expect Cruise to be the guy that beats the shit out of these criminals every time that they try to mess with him. That's why that bar sequence is so great, because he's actually very unassuming to these people. We know that he could probably do damage. We've seen him do it. But to these characters in this world, they have no idea what he's actually capable of. And I love how this movie just really pushed Cruise in a direction in something he hadn't really been doing. And that was really cool. The car chase sequence is straight out of like a 70s film. It's so great. It's so fun. There's some really great actors in this. Like Rosamund Pike is really great. Now, your mileage may vary. Obviously, the opening scene of this movie is probably relatively triggering for people, especially right now. And everything dealing with one shot as a book and what it's talking about. But I am such a sucker for a neo-noir mystery film, and seeing Cruise put himself into that and really like going with this character, doing something so out of place and so different for what he was doing. It really works for me, man. And I remember just being so entirely sucked into the world and what it was doing. And I still love this movie. I go back to this movie a lot. It's one of the most rewatchable Tom Cruise movies for me. Again, your mileage may vary if you aren't necessarily into the noir of it all, but I think it really sets us in this like very interesting collision course with him and Macquarie moving forward, and the relationship that they have and the way that they're willing to want to push each other. They're pushing each other in directions that are different. They're going to take these franchises that we all know in different directions. And I think that's really interesting. I think it's really exciting, and it's the beginning of a really great relationship that we need to talk about. But this movie is fantastic. It's got a great score on top of it by Jack Kramer, whatever it is. It's really good score. This is an A-tier movie for me.
All right, Chris.
Michael. Joe Kramer. I was right.
This is
close.
I love you, PJ.
There's a way worse Jack Reacher movie. I just want you to remember that.
There's only one other, so I mean,
correct.
Kind of narrowing down the list here.
The Jack Reacher movies did not connect with me as much as they did for PJ. They did enough that makes me I do want to go and watch the show now.
The show is great.
Because I am interested. I think, and again, I'll preface what I'm going to say here. No movie on this list I feel like really belongs in the F tier except for one. This is not that one. Its sequel is not that one either.
You agree with me. I'm glad that you agree with me.
These movies for me, however, while good, are forgettable for me. There's nothing that, for me, I'm gonna keep repeating for me because I want to drive home that this is me. This is my opinion, y'all. There's nothing that really stood out for me as being specifically memorable about them. I like them, but there's nothing like they're just okay for me. To the point where I watched this movie and its sequel for this tier ranking. I watched this one maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And leading up till tonight, I remembered nothing from it except for maybe the beginning, which, yes, I don't really want to talk about either. The beginning and then that bar scene. Outside of that, I was like, I don't know where this movie really falls because there's not a whole lot I remember from it. As far as Tom Cruise in these movies go, I kind of feel like this is going to sound super harsh on my. These are the movies that I feel like he's kind of sleepwalking through. This is I think maybe that's not necessarily Tom Cruise's fault. I think what that is, I think maybe that might just be the way the character is written, and if that's the case, maybe the character itself is not written in a way that connects with me personally. which is perfectly fine because obviously, characters and movies connect with people in different ways. But this one, I think for these movies, I have them like back to back on where I rank them, and I do think that I have them. To be fair, this is what's weird. I talked so much hype about Night and Day, but I have Night and Day in the same tier as these two movies, where I put them both in the C tier. So spoilers on where Jack Reacher 2 is going to end up for me. But
correct chance.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, there's plenty of movies on here where he's not doing that. This is the movie where I didn't really feel like there was a whole lot outside of he ran for your sins. He sleep ran through this movie. Fine, we'll put it that way. He sleep rode a motorcycle. What do you want?
It's a Tom Cruise movie. He's driving a motorcycle and he's running. That's what he does.
There just wasn't a whole lot to the character. There wasn't a whole lot to the story that really grabbed me specifically. So I throw this one at sequel in the C tier.
All right. Well, I love the fact that I get to go after these two. We've got one with a really high opinion, one with a lower opinion. I'm actually probably going to side more with my brother. PJ's reacting like he just lost like pressure luck or something. Like he hit a whammy and just that's it. That's an old ass reference, y'all.
Yeah, it was a great reference though.
But yeah, like I've seen this kind of movie before. This is the same kind of idea that, and I say that knowing full well that there's like only 5 stories in every movie and book. It's just different variations of those 5 stories. Sure, got it. This is very much like in the same vein as Taken, The Equalizer, John Wick, Die Hard. Like you've got a movie that's about this badass, unassuming guy that is just trying to come in. He's just trying to right some wrongs. And the people who think that they're capable of going up against him end up getting their ass beat badly. It's a fun movie. It's absolutely a fun movie. I'm not talking bad about that genre of movie. All those movies I listed, I love them all. I love Jack Reacher. I thought Jack Reacher was a great movie for that same exact reason. It's enthralling. It really does a good job. And it's Tom Cruise doing it this time, which I feel like, again, given all the actionness that Tom Cruise is known for, this is a movie that I feel like he should have done long time ago. This should have been like the second after Die Hard came out and they realized what they had with Bruce Willis. They should have made like a movie like this with Tom Cruise. I love this movie. I thought it was great. But I don't feel like there's anything that technically stands out about this movie any more than like the other movies that I mentioned. And even then, in some of those movies, like just the fight action scenes of John Wick, I feel like outweighs like the action scenes we get in Jack Reacher. Granted, there's a lot more investigative and detective work in Jack Reacher, which I love. But overall, it's definitely a movie I'll watch over and over again, but just not the go-to of that kind of movie. I would put this like typically low B, high C.
I was gonna say,
just again in comparison to everything else we have to rank too. So
I would stick it either before or after Top Gun. Either one is fine for me.
Y'all are out of your mind if you think that this belongs below Mission Impossible. I'm telling you right now. I'll give you Mission Impossible 3 above it, but you all are out of your fucking minds. This is lower than Mission Impossible. This movie has Werner Herzog. Are you fucking kidding me?
Werner Herzog was in this? I just watched this like 2 weeks ago. How did I not remember that?
The main villain. He didn't offer Tom Cruise any libations, though.
But he's trying to get someone to friggin' bite their own finger off. It's an incredible, intimidating performance.
Oh, yeah, that is a scene that happened in this movie.
I just can't with you right now.
I would be okay with putting it above Mission Impossible. That actually does sound right.
Thank you. sensibility.
I do feel like, again, with how convoluted, how many times it took me to watch Mission Impossible to finally understand exactly what was going on. I understood what was going on in Jack Reacher from the first time I watched it. So,
And here's I'm gonna throw the line out here once again. I'll remind.
well, here's where he's going to put an F.
No, shut up. I said the only movies I really feel strongly about are the movies that I have in S tier, A tier, and the one movie I have in F tier. The rest of them can really go wherever they end up.
Are we about to get to that movie, by the way? Oh, no,
so if this ends up above Mission Impossible and under MI3, that's okay.
well, that's where it's about to go. So,
He made the whole stink, and then he just quenched the fire right there by saying, "Stick it wherever."
well, I mean, I'll be honest. I'm a bit of a pushover.
Yeah,
I'm
you are.
okay with that. The movies that I absolutely love, I will argue for
Also,
if I feel it's warranted. But
I
so
forgot
far, like the one movie that I feel really passionate about, we all agreed should be S tier anyway. So I'm like, oh, I'm good.
I also forgot that Werner Herzog was in this movie, so
So this is gonna bust down the first Mission Impossible movie to C tier.
Correct, as it should be. It's still above Mission Impossible 2, at least.
Anyways,
great. Now the rest of the night, I'm gonna have "I Would Like to See the Baby" stuck in my head.
You're welcome.
would like to see the baby.
I would like to see the baby.
Is he? Look, it's been a while since I've seen season 1. Is he still alive? Because we should really bring him back.
I think he died in that scene.
I couldn't remember.
I think Moff Gideon killed him.
Maybe you're right. I think you might be right. I need to rewatch season 1.
Okay, so this next one we're gonna start with Chris.
It is, but it's still a thing.
So we're gonna start with Chris, and Chris, hopefully you feel like talking about this for a minute because I'm gonna have to step away for a bit.
Good. I'm glad we're starting with me on this one.
Yeah. If worst case scenario, we can skip me and go to PJ if I'm not back like in the minute or so. But we're gonna go with Oblivion. Have fun.
I'm glad we're starting with me on this one because this is actually one of the movies on this list that,
keep in mind, it's directed by the same guy who did Top Gun Maverick and Tron Legacy.
Yes, it is.
This movie is one of the movies on the list that I feel very strongly about. In terms of, this is one of those movies that I watched for this list. This is a movie that I watched very recently, but I actually really enjoyed this movie. I enjoyed this movie a lot. It's weird too, because I looking at this movie, going into it, you expected this movie to kind of be a certain way. You expect it to be kind of like more moody and slower paced, and it's not. It's not that way at all. It's actually pretty decently paced, and it's a fairly like edge of your seat action movie. There is a lot here to like. There's a lot of like, this movie does something that I really, really, really enjoy in movies, which is the mysterious, what is this person? Who are they and what are they up to? And then the turn. It flips, it sets you up and lets you believe certain things, and then it flips the script on you and does completely different things. And then on top of that, what I really enjoyed about this is it did even like one or two more things that I wasn't even thinking or expecting by the end of the movie. There's a lot of really good performances in this. There's just so much about this where, like, I'm thinking I'm being led one direction. I'm expecting one thing, and then I didn't even realize, like, going into this. I guess maybe it's been a while since I've even seen a trailer for this movie, because this movie was like, I want to say it was like 2014.
Yeah, I think it's right around the same time as Edge of Tomorrow. He does two sci-fi movies like really close together. Yeah,
and I guess I didn't know a whole lot about what this movie was going into it, which I think is actually, in some cases, is probably the preferred way of doing certain movies. This is like one of those where I'm kind of glad I didn't really know that much about it, because I had no idea who Olga Kurylenko was playing in this. or what her character was or what that was about. She was like the main pivotal piece to the story, the catalyst to the story of what happened in this movie. This movie is there's just a whole lot to like about this movie. And on top of that, the soundtrack, fantastic, because I actually like M83. And so the role that they played in the soundtrack is actually like that just does nothing but add a plus for me. But yeah, just the twists and the turns of this movie is what really, really sold me. This movie is high for me. I actually do put this, I think I have this in my A tier. Yeah. This movie ends up in A tier for me.
Okay. So I looked at it. I thought of it as a very basic sci-fi movie. I liked the story. I thought it was interesting. I mean, it kept me entertained. The twist that it does in this, there's a couple of twists in this movie, and I feel like for the most part, I called them. Like I realized that what they were before it happened. Well, I mean, for the most part, yeah. There was one that I was like really close on. I was like, okay, that might as well have been that one. Like, I get it. But I don't feel like it really did anything new for the most part. The cinematography is gorgeous in this movie. This is like expertly shot. I thought it was, if they would have just done more like panning shots over like this destroyed Earth, I thought it would have been like fantastic. More shots like that, seeing parts of what we're familiar with, but everything else is destroyed around it. That would have been, I would have loved to have seen more like that. It's kind of funny because like I did watch this movie. I went into it knowing that it's being directed by Joseph Kosinski, who did Top Gun Maverick. And I was like, oh, okay, well, this was at a time I had not seen Top Gun Maverick yet, but all the reviews for Top Gun Maverick were coming in, and I'm seeing nothing but like just amazing positive reviews for it. So I was like, okay, well, I'm not able to watch it yet, but this will give me kind of like a taste of what we're going to get with Tom Cruise and Joseph Kosinski. And I felt kind of like let down. I was like, well, this doesn't give me like high hopes on Top Gun Maverick. Like everyone's saying it's great, but like if it's anything like Oblivion, spoiler alert, it wasn't. But yeah, I didn't feel that high about Top Gun Maverick after watching Oblivion. But
this makes sense though.
I mean, even Tron Legacy. Yeah. Tron Legacy's entire third act is like a very similar sequence to the stuff happening in Maverick, and that's not a bad thing. You can see the DNA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, the cinematography was gorgeous. The only like other like real negative I would say that's a takeaway from this is they severely underused Morgan Freeman. But there's one story element to Morgan Freeman in this that I thought was fantastic. Like something that he did with his character was great. I'm not going to reveal it because it's kind of a spoiler, but
like, towards the end.
Yeah. Towards the end of the movie. I thought that was fantastic what they did with him on there, but I would have liked to have seen a lot more Morgan Freeman. Again, big Shawshank Redemption fan. I'm up for anything that any of the people in Shawshank do. I want to see more of them in everything. So, yeah, this movie overall, I would say low C, high D is where I'd want to put it.
All right.
How crazy are we, PJ?
No, actually, I think that this movie is actually quite good. I think it gets overlooked a lot in his filmography for a lot of weird reasons. I think a lot of it's the Edge of Tomorrow of it all, to be honest with you. Spoiler alert, they came out around the same time, and one was vastly more popular than the other.
Guess what the next movie we're about to talk about is?
Correct. But this movie in particular actually stands out for a lot of reasons for me. Cruise was doing something a little different that we hadn't seen in a while from him. Like we hadn't seen him doing something very sci-fi like this. And it's just kind of a fun movie. It's a little Twilight Zone-esque, actually. It's got some really good performances. Like it feels like a 2-hour Twilight Zone film, but with a little bit more action. Kaczynski's a really talented director, and the twists and turns, like you can kind of see it coming, but it still works. And that to me is actually the qualifier of a better movie, is like, even if you see the thing coming, as long as it sticks the landing and it doesn't, like, you don't go, oh, well, I saw that coming, and you roll your eyes, then it's okay. And it makes a better movie.
Yeah.
Some really good performances in this. Overall, I think it's very fun. I think it's funny that I fought so heavily to get Reacher into a B tier, but I think this might be like a lower B tier movie, to be honest with you. Cruise gets a hell of a performance in it. I don't think we talk about his performance a lot, but in this one in particular, for whatever reason, it just, like, there's something about it. It feels very human, and that's pretty important, I think, to trying to sell this movie, considering the twists and turns it takes. Because I don't want to talk about the twist of it all if you've never seen it. I think it's better to have it happen the first time without that knowledge.
The fact that you even know that there's a twist is,
yeah. We probably said too much in that point, but at the same time, it's a good movie, man. It's a lot of fun. I think it gets overlooked a lot in his filmography. So,
I'm almost like tempted to say, like, if you're watching the Marquee and this list of movies, we expect you to have seen this list of movies. But I understand if some people,
so there is something new that we started with this Marquee, and we'll do it in the future Marquees as well. If you're a part of our Patreon, and this is not like a random in the middle of nowhere plug, but I mean, kind of is. If you're a part of our Patreon, we will release like what the movies we're ranking are ahead of time. That way, if you are also inclined to watch the movies and formulate your opinion before the Marquee goes live, you have the ability to watch that and know what we're talking about as well. Patreon.com/CinemaFanatics. Anyways,
nice.
Anyways, so PJ, you're saying you want to put this like low B, high C?
Yeah, that's kind of where my mind is at right now.
I was going A, so he's going low B.
I was saying C into D, so it's definitely going to end up like in low B, high C territory.
I will concede Reacher in C level if it means keeping it in B for Chris, because I'm that person.
I can concede to that. That I understand that works,
and I have no problem with that idea.
We're all just so agreeing with each other. Yeah. Can someone put us in charge of like the United States government? Because I feel like that we would get some shit done that way.
No.
I mean, we would get
not
stuff
to be political. I'm just trying to make a joke, but
I don't want that job.
We'd get stuff done at least. I admit that.
We get some stuff done.
I don't want the job where a significant portion of the country hates me for whatever reason.
I'm fine with it. I have a fan base that hates me most of the time. I feel
if you're not ready for people to hate you, you might have a hard time being even being a YouTuber.
No, I can handle that.
Oh, okay. So we are calling this.
I'm okay with people hating me for not real issues.
We're wanting to put this where Jack Reacher is right now.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. So and Tropic Thunder moves down to like that seems like the right move, because Tropic Thunder moves to probably where it should be right now.
If we could all like do me a favor and know this ahead of time, that way I don't have to spend half the runtime on the stream.
No, it's more
this. This is the job you signed up for.
Moving everything. Luckily, this isn't that hard to move stuff around, but
anyway.
So there's another movie we're going to be talking about here soon.
Yeah, what's the next? Oh, yeah, the next one's Edge of Tomorrow. That's going to be a fun one.
You move Jack Reacher down.
Who's starting with Edge of Tomorrow?
Take your time. Time.
Well, that's
everyone loves a dead silence on a live stream.
The which one?
What?
You said you love the dead silence.
Yeah, I said everyone loves a dead silence.
So just in case y'all can tell, my brother can't handle 5 different tasks at the same time.
Jake Iacovetta, you are not late. You're not early. You're right on schedule.
You arrived precisely when you meant to. Are you a wizard?
I mean, have you seen him?
All right, so Edge of Tomorrow.
Most drunk wizard I've ever met, but still a wizard.
That's what we need. Like,
pass out.
This whole, like, what we were saying with Jack Reacher, where he's just like a badass, just going on and righting wrongs and stuff. I need like drunk wizard doing that. A cross between Jack Reacher and Bad Santa.
There we go.
Yes,
that'd be awesome. What's this? Edge of Tomorrow. Awesome use of the time loop story. Love the fact that this is one of the few movies that actually explains why the character is in the time loop. There's like so many movies I feel like they don't necessarily explain it. Like Happy Death Day, they didn't explain it until the second movie. Groundhog Day, we don't actually get an explanation. We just have to assume that he's caught in a time loop because he's an asshole. I feel like the only other movie, I'm trying to think of all the time loop movies. Palm Springs? It was because
Palm
of
Springs.
They do explain it in there. I'm not going to reveal it, but and one that I don't know if anyone else is familiar with, and I'm hoping PJ has heard of this. I know Chris has.
PJ probably is familiar with this.
1201.
No, I'm not.
It was it's a made-for-TV movie that came out like right around the same time as Groundhog Day. I feel like it actually came out right before Groundhog Day. It is a more serious take of the time loop, but it stars Jonathan Silverman, Helen Slater, Jeremy Piven. It's Martin Landau. It's for a made-for-TV movie based off a short story. It's really good, but it's also one of those that they do explain the time loop for.
My brain was thinking Source Code.
Oh yeah, Source Code's a good one too.
Is Source Code a time loop movie?
Yeah, I mean, from a certain point of view, yes.
I remember watching Source Code and I just did not like it. But
yeah,
Edge of Tomorrow not only because they explain the reason for the time loop, but what we see to get there. A lot of things like time loop movies definitely have a pattern in once you start getting into where the day's going to reset, everything is just silly. You see people tripping and spilling things and sneezing, and like there's an overabundance of like, let's point all this goofy shit out because we're gonna see it over and over and over again. Edge of Tomorrow does it, but I don't feel like it's like so in your face that you have to be paying attention to it. I feel like a lot of the stuff that they point out is more of the dialogue rather than the actual actions that people are doing.
Like they do it just enough to establish that you're in a time loop.
Yeah. Like it gets to the point where Tom Cruise's character is reciting what Bill Paxton is saying at the beginning of the time loop all over again. War is the great redeemer. Like I love that stuff. That was fantastic. The interactions, each time he has to reset the day and he has to re-interact with Veratsky. What's her face? I'm
Emily
looking
Blunt?
at her and I can't remember her name.
Emily Blunt.
Every time he has to re-interact with her is a lot of fun. Granted, they only show him do it a couple of times, but whatever. I just really liked it. It was a good, solid action flick with the time loop based in it.
To Cheryl's question, wasn't the original title for the film Live, Die, Repeat? Actually, the original title of the movie was All You Need Is Kill, which was then scrapped for Live, Die, Repeat, which then became Edge of Tomorrow, and then it was retitled Live, Die, Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow once it hit
home video.
Yeah.
And then is getting, I guess it's now getting retitled again back to just Edge of Tomorrow, and Live, Die, Repeat is like its tagline.
Just call it whatever the hell you want to.
I mean, seriously. I think
done some fucking damage to this movie.
They're solidly calling it Edge of Tomorrow again because I believe that they are getting closer and closer to giving us that sequel that we all want. Like I'm eager for what the sequel could potentially do with this. This is A tier for me. And if nothing else, oh no, wait, there is one other movie that's S tier. Never mind. This is A tier. I forgot what else is coming in this list.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is.
There's at least one thing in the S tier that we're gonna have to knock out eventually too. But that's just that's
yeah.
Okay. Look, I'm just gonna straight up say it. This movie's fantastic. Like, it was such a breath of fresh air. Cruise is really good at doing stuff in blockbuster movies that no one else is really doing, and like making American cinema look exciting again. Like, look, I like superhero stuff, don't get me wrong, but we've been pretty heavily inundated in that and like living that world since 2000, since the first X-Men, and it's only gotten more progressive as we've gone on. And this movie was so cool to just get something so different and so exciting, and it felt fresh and new, even though we've seen time loops in the past. And you get Emily Blunt being such a badass as Rita Vertasky. Like, that character's so great. But more importantly, we get Bill Paxton. Bill Paxton is like the MVP of this movie, and his line of just everything about his interactions with Cruise. But when Cruise dies, when he like tries to roll away while they're all doing push-ups and he gets run over by the truck and he goes, what the hell was he thinking? The way Paxton delivers the line is so good. Lyman's not my favorite action director, but the action sequences in this are actually super thrilling. The alien designs are kind of cool and different, and I like this movie a lot. I think the third act gets a little muddled in what it's trying to do. I actually think Cruise should die. I think it's a disservice to the story that he actually lives. I think it would have been more harrowing, but I guess at the end of the day, we also get a sequel out of it, allegedly, if WB ever decides to greenlight it. To be honest with you, the Discovery merger of it all makes me actually think we're never going to get the sequel.
Yeah.
Something about that just tells me that they may not actually pull the trigger, but I think they could and should. And again, to what I was talking about earlier, Chris McQuarrie comes in, he helps rewrite the film. He becomes the co-writer of the movie, and you can feel it. You feel what McQuarrie and Cruise are starting to do together and finding super interesting angles for him, finding ways to push him. And dude, those mech suits that they were wearing, like that was real shit. And it's really impressive. It's super impressive and it's super fun. Yeah, it's a good movie, man. A tier.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with this also. I think it ends up in the A tier as well. Great action, really fun. Just a great take in sci-fi, just a great take on the time loop. Repeating everything you guys said. Emily Blunt's fantastic in this. I love that her character...
Everything that we said. Good job.
Yeah, basically. Let me continue. I love that her character is one that also experienced this before, and so she knows like kind of exactly what he's going through. And so I think that was a lot of fun, a fun angle to take, and created a lot of like really good dynamic between those two characters. I really enjoyed it. I think it's definitely easily one of those fun sci-fi action movies that you can just revisit time and time again, and it's gonna stay
almost like a time loop.
Time you watch it. Almost like a time loop, exactly.
Yeah. Rachel, like, I do want to put it in S tier, and I would have, had there not been one other movie that just recently came out. This I would probably argue for
recency bias, by the way.
S tier.
It's not recency bias.
It is not recency bias.
Not recency bias. It just so happened to come out recently, but yeah, I figured we were going to get into that conversation with it as well. But before we get there, this is the Jerry Miller. Watch it on Groundhog Day instead of Groundhog Day. I mean, here's the thing, though. I need to start like divvying that up, because I do typically watch Groundhog Day around Groundhog Day, even though it's just a time loop movie. So
that's actually kind of funny.
That movie's so good.
All right, let's get back to the series of Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation.
My time has come to knock Gross Protocol is great. Don't get me wrong. Y'all are fucking out of your minds to not have Rogue Nation above that movie. Rogue Nation was the movie where I finally realized that the series was so on the right track of being the series that it has always been meant to be. Every piece was put in place from 3 on. And then McQuarrie came on to direct. And McQuarrie looked at the first 4 movies and said, how can I take the best parts of all of these, combine them in one place, while also finally finding a way to push the most human angle of Ethan, finding a way to tie in everything that had started with the 4th or the 3rd film on, with his marriage and with everything they put in. We finally get this idea that the syndicate finally comes to life. The tease at the end of Ghost Protocol, there's this rogue CIA group that's out there. We still have Jeremy Renner in this. Jeremy Renner is still a part of it. Ving Rhames comes back. Rebecca Ferguson's finally introduced. We get incredible car chase sequences. We get everything that you could want in this series is done to a fucking T here. This is the movie that really defines this franchise. Everything about it is the next level of what it can be. Fallout's great too, but Fallout is following in the footsteps of the movie that finally puts it on the pedestal of what it deserves to be. The Opera House sequence is maybe one of the greatest action beats of all time, and also maybe one of the most suspenseful, great nods to Alfred Hitchcock that has been done by someone who's not Alfred Hitchcock. This movie is so good. The crews being on the run from the CIA, them finally going after Ethan for everything after the Kremlin explosion, this idea that maybe Ethan has been on the wrong side, and all this pressure that it's putting on everyone around him, everything that Benji is put through, having to go through these lie detector tests. It's so fucking good, you guys. Everything about this finally pushes every character in a direction that they had never faced until this movie. This movie sings, and I love it so much. And you cannot tell me that, talk about a movie that understands starting big with him flying on the outside of that plane. And as the movie goes on, McQuarrie looks at it and goes, what's more interesting, going bigger and bigger, or slowly scaling down as it goes till you're in a cat and mouse knife fight in the finale and a chase through these streets where they trap the villain like a literal mouse in a cage. It is the most perfect use of just about everything the series has ever been and can ever be. Rogue Nation is the S-tier movie we deserve in the Mission Impossible franchise.
Well,
it's my
Chris,
third favorite.
Chris, go ahead. You follow.
It's my third favorite.
I'm just gonna sit here while my brother continues talking.
Yeah, shut up. It's my third favorite. I see all the points that you make though, and when we get to the point where we're talking about Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation, Fallout, all 3 of these movies are fantastic. They do such a good job with all of them. The freaking that whole underwater sequence in Rogue Nation, good God. This is one of those sequences that I'm like on the edge of my seat the entire time. This is one of those sequences where I'm reminded how much I don't like underwater sequences when it's high tension, because I feel like I can't breathe while I'm watching it.
They need to someone needs to edit the Sonic the Hedgehog running out of air song.
Right?
Or however it is.
So yeah, that and I give you also like what you were saying, PJ, the end where they trap Solomon, that's it. Solomon. God, Simon. We've been talking about a lot of movies, guys. Where they trap Solomon in that cage at the end, and he's like staring down Ethan, looks like, beating on the glass case. Really great. Solomon, fantastic villain. He is that why I messed up his name? Is the actor's name Simon?
No.
No, his name is not. It is Sean Harris.
Sean.
Yes.
It's another S. Okay. Anyway, he does such a great job. He's playing such a great villain. And the other thing to highlight on this is that this is setting up what I expect to be the storyline for the remaining Mission Impossibles. I don't know to what degree the storyline still plays in Dead Reckoning, considering where it left off in Fallout. I would expect that there is still pieces of this that are playing into the Dead Reckoning movies. But it does set up like you were saying, it does set up where the franchise now goes from this point on. As a whole, I think I specifically had more fun and enjoyed Ghost Protocol and Fallout a little bit more than Rogue Nation. But when you come down to these three, it really is a toss of the coin as to, in terms of like the quality of the movies, all three have such high quality that all three could really end up anywhere. I think I myself put this in A tier. No. Yeah, well, okay. Well, frick. I put this in B tier, but considering where we have everything right now, I don't see how this doesn't end up in A, considering what we have left. So based on where we've placed everything right now, and I'm probably not going to want to shift it around. I would say for me, this goes in the A tier at this point. But that's just because, again, I prefer Ghost Protocol and Fallout to this movie. That's just personal preference that we're talking about at this point.
It's fair. I hear you. You're wrong, and that's okay. But I appreciate the honesty.
Cheers,
Amber. So it's the Fast Five of Mission Impossible.
I mean, a little bit, to be honest with you.
I feel like that's actually Ghost Protocol. So here's the thing: like the trajectory of the Mission Impossible movies, I feel like we're actually set with Ghost Protocol. To that extent, Ghost Protocol ended with the tease of revealing the Syndicate, much like was it Batman Begins ends with the Joker playing card leading into Dark Knight. Ghost Protocol ended with like, we got to go after this shadow group called the Syndicate, and then the next movie was Rogue Nation, was the one that really dealt with the Syndicate. That being said, Solomon Lane is a very solid villain. Only like it really comes down, in my opinion, between him and Philip Seymour Hoffman's villain in MI3. I still think that Philip Seymour Hoffman may edge him out, but given the fact that Solomon Lane's character has a lot more reach and strength with what he's doing.
If Solomon Lane was just a one-off villain, he's there and done, then I would say Philip Seymour Hoffman edges him out. But because he's in two movies, he's in multiple movies, and he's got just a lot more. And what his villain does in those movies is
I'll say real quick. Tim says set with Ghost Protocol, perfected in Rogue Nation, and I agree with that. And the reason I say set and perfected, who's directing every last one of these movies? Who figured out the secret sauce? Yeah. Dude, I mean, like, the dude just knows what he's doing, and it just hits. It just hits.
Yeah.
So my issue with Rogue Nation and Fallout, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, is these movies feel like they kind of blend together. You tell me an action scene like Tom Cruise, the scene of Tom Cruise underwater in this. If you were to just have told me like, hey, which Mission Impossible movie has Tom Cruise underwater, I would have been like, it's either Rogue Nation or Fallout, one of those two. I can't remember which. It like they really do, and this may be a testament to those movies. Maybe those movies really should have been like one really long movie.
They're a two-hander.
Yeah, but I was like, for as far as looking at them individually, I'm kind of confused as to what happens in which movie. They don't necessarily, as a standalone movie, stand out to me. So, Rogue Nation was good. I definitely agree with what y'all are saying. Is that after Christopher McQuarrie took over and really steered this into the direction it's going, they're good. They're very good movies. In fact, I would agree. I saw someone. Where did someone say it earlier? Someone was saying like 4, 5, and 6 was like
I
Haskell.
agree with Haskell. Yeah.
Yeah, MI 4 through 6, one of the best trilogies. Absolutely agree with that. I feel like Mission Impossible 1, 2, and 3 are too detached from one another. It was really ending with Ghost Protocol mentioning the Syndicate, and now Rogue Nation and Fallout really having to deal with the Syndicate and Syndicate spinoffs. I feel like that was a lot more a better foundation for the series as a whole. But yeah, with the fact that like Rogue Nation, I don't feel like Rogue Nation did as well as Ghost Protocol as far as the story and the action for me. Again, I feel like it just blends into Fallout too much, and I really can't decipher between the two of them.
Look, we can talk all day about this, but we know Dead Reckoning is going to end up over all of them because Haley Atwell's in it. All right, moving on.
Yeah. I would have put Rogue Nation probably in the B.
Higher.
In B tier.
Higher at this point.
So, PJ, you're saying S?
Abso-fucking-lutely.
And Chris, you're saying A, and I'm saying B, so it's going to go A for right now.
God.
We will
Ghost Protocol being
entertain.
higher than this is a goddamn travesty. This is a travesty. The third act of Ghost Protocol is not very good. Ugh, my heart hurts so much.
Now, the argument, though, is and I already know PJ's opinion on this one, does Rogue Nation go above Edge of Tomorrow and The Last Samurai?
Ooh. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, PJ's going to put it above those. He's going to put it as close as possible to S.
You're goddamn right I am.
Oh, look, I mean, I'm fine with that.
See?
Okay,
A man
so
of taste. I may not like that you didn't want it under S, but that's all right.
I call it compromise.
Okay.
Really,
Again, maybe
Garth?
we should be running things around here because,
I do love Rogue Nation, but I'm like Pete Wentz. I'm a Fallout boy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Garth. Moving on. Okay. This was gonna be fun.
Okay, I guess we're just going to leave it there. Cool.
I thought that's where we were deciding for right now.
Oh, I was saying slide it above. You can go ahead and slide it above Last Samurai.
Rogue Nation? Okay.
No, friggin' Tropic Thunder. What movie did we just do?
That wouldn't make any sense. Tropic Thunder is down in D.
We don't have time for this.
Yeah, I would know. Jack Reacher, Never Go Back. Who are we starting with on this one? Chris?
I think it's Chris.
Is it me?
Yeah.
There's not a
Here's
lot
the
to
thing.
say about this movie.
This is the last one I watched right before doing this list. I think I watched it. Did I watch it last night or the night before?
I watched it last night.
Okay, I watched it the night before then. This movie, again, the two Jack Reachers are neck to neck for me. I think this movie, maybe just because I rewatched it watched it recently, it just stuck in my mind a little bit longer. Also, I really like Colby Smulders in this. I thought she did a fantastic job. This was a very good role for her as opposed to what I've seen her in before, which is How I Met Your Mother and Avengers, the Marvel movies. So it was cool to see her play something a little bit different where she's like a realistic military command type person. I didn't realize that she was like, when I saw the trailer for this, I didn't realize she was in the movie all the way through with Tom Cruise. So I do like that she was like there with him the entire time instead of him just being on his own and then only reaching out to her every now and then. I think I like this movie just a little bit more than the first one, but that's, again, it's not saying much. They both kind of fall in the same bucket for me. So wherever we feel like sticking this is kind of where it goes for me. I could see it going before or after the original Jack Reacher. I'm fine with really either one. So
yeah,
I'd be even fine if it just ends up in D tier. Honestly, even under Top Gun, I think I'd even be fine with that too.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Like, I feel like this was just about as equal as the first one. Like, there really wasn't, I feel like, too much difference between the two. It's still Tom Cruise, his character, just going and solving shit like Taken or John Wick or whatever, Equalizer. I do like Colby Smulders in this. I think she was really good. I like the storyline of his kid. I think that was a lot of fun. But yeah, nothing really like stand out. It's just a very good thriller action movie for me. I still like the first Jack Reacher more, so I would probably put this like under the first one. The thing that I would say that really kills me on this one is also directed by Edward Zwick, who directed The Last Samurai. And if y'all remember, about almost 3 hours ago, I wanted to stick The Last Samurai in S tier. I loved The Last Samurai. That was a phenomenal movie. This, I had to do a double take when I looked this up on like Wikipedia or IMDb that Edward Zwick also directed this. I'm like, that's weird. Like this, I feel like he was just collecting a paycheck on this movie and not doing it. Like this is nowhere near the same league as The Last Samurai at all, ever. And then if you go back and you say that Edward Zwick did Glory, like, no, what the hell is going on here? Yeah, this is not as good as what we know Edward Zwick can do. This is, I would say, C tier under the first Jack Reacher, and at this point, I would probably put it. I mean, granted, what C tier looks like right now, I would actually still put this under the first Mission Impossible and Top Gun. I would probably put this D tier now.
You guys are being really fucking kind to this movie. Jesus.
Yes.
There's a movie that is, if any other movie on this list has earned my ire nearly as much as MI2, it's this movie. Because I'm such a big fan of the first movie. I clearly wanted it to be A tier. I conceded it down to the C tier. This movie is such a fucking drop in quality for me from the first to this. The lack of Christopher McQuarrie is felt. The action beats by Zwick are not very memorable. They're not very exciting. The mystery, the story, everything about this movie falls much flatter. It's fun to watch, but like it's just such a step down. This is what I would say is like a perfect TNT movie or like a perfect rainy day movie if I was flipping through cable. Like, I'm not saying it's bad. Yeah. It's totally fucking watchable. But when you compare it to what I think is so great about the original to this, it's like, well, it's night and day, if you will, in that scenario. And I would just say, like, easy D tier at this point. I mean, honestly, I would almost put it in F, but I would put it higher than War of the Worlds.
I get that. I think this definitely felt like a movie I would see on a made for TV type situation. If it weren't for the fact that it was like Tom Cruise, I don't see Tom Cruise doing a made for TV like that. I don't know if he did or not, but it did have like a made for TV quality to it. It feels like.
I mean, I'm okay with like putting it above War of the Worlds.
All right,
I think it's fine.
Cool. There we go.
So we're gonna put War of the Worlds is gonna go over MI2 in the F tier.
Yep.
So I ended up getting War of the Worlds still in the F tier.
I mean, honestly, are we that surprised with the rest of this?
No. Especially looking at what else is on this list. Everything else I feel like is just going to nicely fall into place.
That's pretty remarkable, all things being equal.
Yeah. And this is one of those, like, it's great, like, for the audience that, like, they may know what is about to come up, but us sitting here looking at the list, I'm just really grateful that it's all going to fall into place.
Whose turn is starting on this next one?
I believe it's actually Robert.
Cool.
Make this easy.
I will. Next movie, y'all. This is a movie that I like to affectionately refer to as a time saver. It's The Mummy. Fuck this movie. It's going to F. I don't need to explain why. In fact, I'm not even going to explain. It's going straight to the bottom of F.
Look, I watched this movie. Chance had never seen it. We watched it again it's the second time I think I'd seen it. There's like moments in the movie that are fine, but like even when I was stoned.
You watched this more than once?
Yeah, and the second time I watched it, I was stoned, and it still wasn't that fun. Like, that is absolute insanity. Ed, why is Tropic Thunder in D tier?
Watch the whole thing.
Watch the whole thing. It's not an indictment on that film. It's very clearly laid out why we put it where it is.
Yeah.
This movie's a fucking movie that exists. Russell Crowe's fun in it, I guess. Like, and shout out to them trying to jam the Brendan Fraser Mummy franchise into it by being like, look, it's the fucking Book of the Dead. You remember that? You remember those? We're gonna play the score. You like that movie? Yeah, I mean, look, this movie's not good. It's not good.
No. So much to say is like when I watch movies, I typically try to do my best to focus in on the movie I'm watching. There's been a couple movies that we've done on these lists that I've had to occupy myself with something else while I'm watching the movie just to make it through.
Yeah.
Leaving Las Vegas for the Nicolas Cage one, not because that movie was bad, but because it was a hard watch and I had to get myself on something to make it through that movie or else I would hate myself. This is another example of a movie where I absolutely had to turn on like Fortnite or something and literally play a game while I was watching the movie. Not for the same reason as Leaving Las Vegas. This one is because it's bad. This is an example of where everybody who's in the movie did the best they could with what they were given. Like you said, Russell Crowe did a fine job with what he was given. Sophia Boutella, she did a fine job with what she was given. This is actually, I take back, what did I say earlier? I said it was the Jack Reacher where it felt like Tom Cruise was sleepwalking his way through. No, I take that back now. This is the movie that I feel like Tom Cruise was sleepwalking through. I don't remember a damn thing about him having any kind of real character in this movie that was that if you ask me like what type of person is Tom Cruise playing in this movie? Cocky adventurer, maybe. I don't know. I can't remember. There's just
fucking movie.
This is a color by numbers, and that I think is being generous for this movie.
I was gonna say that's fucking being generous. I mean, look, Alex Kurtzman literally tries to do everything in his power to rip off every other horror movie that he can. Like, he looks at American Werewolf in London, he goes, what if I took that and used Jake Johnson in that? But it doesn't really make sense to the story. Why are we doing this? Like, everything about this movie, oh, hey, the Avengers have S.H.I.E.L.D. What if we had S.H.I.E.L.D., but it's run by Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? Okay. And that's the funny thing is Prodigium's the most interesting fucking part of the movie. And it has nothing to do with Tom Cruise. Like, I would have much rather seen an entire movie where Russell Crowe's fucking chasing people down. That movie sounds more interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we would have gotten that if this movie was better and did well in the
That
box
should have
office.
been the movie, though. Like, honest to God.
I hate that it started off with Dark Universe as its own logo.
Yeah.
I was like,
it had already
oof.
cemented itself.
You want to know what the fucked up thing is that Dark Universe in and of itself is like a great idea. The Universal Monsters as a property have done this before.
Yeah.
Like, that was the whole basis of the original version of the Universal Monsters. We have a blueprint. You can do this. And somehow Universal went the opposite fucking direction and was like, no, we're just going to make it a fucking action series. It's mind-blowing that these people looked at it and thought that was the way to go. Like, it worked for The Mummy because The Mummy was a kind of an Egypt adventure film. Like, that's different. You can do it there, but you can't replicate it again. Fucking do something else. Like, it would have been so interesting to see Tom Cruise just doing like a horror mummy movie where he's the lead. He's done that. Interview with a Vampire fucking exists.
Do you know what? You know what they probably should have done before we move on? What they probably should have done is they probably should have just made the Mummy movies that Brendan Fraser was in part of the universe and just use that as your backbone.
They did.
Technically.
They did. They just did it as like a throwaway, though. They just didn't care. You're right. They should have. They absolutely.
Let Brendan Fraser be the through line guy, the Nick Fury of these movies.
And I'm going to push back on Nerd a little bit. I don't think Kurtzman's always a problem. I think he's done plenty of decent stuff too, especially on television. Like, the dude's very talented. He's just more cut out for doing television than he is doing movies. Like, that just kind of is. Like, Fringe gives him a lifetime pass. Fringe is one of the greatest shows of all time.
I like Jeremy Miller's comment here.
Okay.
Invisible Man is great, even though it has nothing to do in that universe. I don't know if they like. I know a lot of people were talking about that was planned for that to be a part of it, but I don't know if that was Lee Winnell's plan when he was directing it.
No.
Winnell, because remember, Johnny Depp was supposed to be the Invisible Man. Then after they scrubbed everything, they decided to do a bunch of standalone stuff, which theoretically was probably the way to do it to begin with.
That's what Iron Man did. Iron Man was not made to be part of a franchise until the last post-credit scene. Then all of a sudden, it's like, you're a part of a world that you have no idea about. And that was it. Otherwise, Iron Man was a complete standalone film. And that's what they should have done. They, instead of throwing the Dark Universe logo at the very beginning saying, hey, we're going to create a cinematic universe of our own, make it a standalone movie with maybe a tie, like make Dr. Jekyll come in at the very end of the movie. I'll say this. I don't mind they start with Dark Universe. Like, I actually think the idea of doing Dark Universe as a thing is a very good idea. And you could have just used it as a branding. It doesn't even have to be like, just calling the Universal Monster stuff you're doing Dark Universe is a cool idea.
Yeah.
Right? Like, theoretically, it's kind of fucking cool. Maybe lean on it. But you don't have to make everything like these weird interconnected.
I did, Rachel.
Yeah, the last thing I wanted to say was Ed's comment. I forgot about this. That was probably the highlight of the movie, was that action sequence in the plane with the zero-G stuff. But
yeah,
if I could find one good thing about that movie, I guess that would be it.
All right. So moving on to the next one. Just to double check for shits and giggles, we're all okay with where the mummy is, right? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Are you fucking kidding me?
Let's go with Mission Impossible Fallout.
I like that poster.
Yeah. This starts with PJ.
Is this me?
Yep.
Oh, shit. All right. Well, look. I would do anything in my fucking power to get Ghost Protocol out of the S tier. And I know that you both said that any day it sounds like that Fallout could be like better, or like you like it that much. Cavill's great in this movie. The action sequences are exquisite. I think the story's a little bit lacking comparative to Rogue Nation, but I think that this is a more thrilling movie overall than Ghost Protocol. If I can knock Ghost Protocol out of the S tier, because look, we know there's got to be a Mission Impossible movie, and we know that the next movie coming up in here is also going into the S tier. We know it's happening. We know it's coming.
Yep.
If I can barter with the gods that are the Cinefanatics right now to get Ghost Protocol out of the S tier,
calling us gods is the right way to go to begin with.
I know what I'm doing. For the love of God, if I can't get Rogue Nation in the S tier, when
compliments will get you everywhere.
When it is far and away the best movie, the second best Mission Impossible movie should be in the S tier. And that is Fallout. This movie is fucking crazy. The action sequences are amazing. The third act is remarkable. Tom Cruise continues to put his life on the line for our entertainment. Thank you for doing that, Tom. We appreciate you. This movie's great. Like, there's not a lot more to say about it. It just, dude, Henry Cavill like pumps his arms like they're guns and like reloads them. It's incredible.
Wait, what was that? You look like you were playing some maracas.
I mean, he could be doing maracas. That'd be great too. And like, it's a good movie, man. This movie's great. It's super fun. If I can't have Rogue Nation in the S tier, I will gladly put Fallout in the S tier and move Ghost Protocol to the A, as long as I can.
That's what I was saying. After doing my rewatch, I mean, he knows I walked in after finishing Fallout and going, I have a hard time deciding whether I like Ghost Protocol or Fallout more. So they are like two sides of the same coin for me at this point. So I could see Fallout going in S and putting Ghost Protocol down, knocking it back down to the top of A. The only thing, really, honestly, the only thing I say against Fallout is that I really wish, and this is not even really to do with the movie, it's more to do with how they marketed it. I really wish they would have hid the Henry Cavill turn a little bit better in the trailers.
Yeah, that's the marketing. That was unfortunate.
I think that's literally the only thing. But yeah, that's really not against the movie.
I'll say this, and you know, this is just to really sweeten the pot. Vanessa Kirby.
She was good in it.
She's fucking incredible in it.
Well, I hated Fallout, so F tier. No, just kidding.
I was about to.
Darn it, we don't have any more room in F tier.
Yeah.
Let's move Mummy down to Z tier.
Yeah, seriously. Can we just forget Mummy exists? Here's my issue with Fallout is the same as the issue with Rogue Nation. Like I said, I feel like it kind of just blends together, which again may be the idea of the fact that they probably would have worked as one like big movie instead of two separate movies. Just the fact that we have to consider them as two separate movies, I feel like is what causes that opinion rather than like an actual like negative against Fallout itself. I don't know, after the rewatch for this, and I still feel like I don't feel like it really separates itself from the rest of the series. I really, other than blending with Rogue Nation, I don't know. Like, I feel like it's weird. I feel like Mission Impossible 3 is more of a standout than Fallout was. But I like what Fallout did. I like that it closed a lot of ties. The stuff with Julia involved in Fallout, I really love that. The ending of it with the getting the remote control for the bombs while trying to defuse the bombs is fantastic. The action scenes with the helicopters are great.
And the first Mission Impossible movie to never have an opening action sequence. That's like a huge deal. The cold open is not an action sequence.
Interesting. It's just, yeah.
My brother in Cthulhu, do the right thing. I called you a god for.
Garth is right. S tier.
Bonus points for messing up a DC. Yeah. Here's the thing, though. I will go on record since this is live and everyone can hear me. I think the mustache was better used in Mission Impossible Fallout than it was in Justice League. Like, the Justice League had no business trying to say, like, hey, let's CGI the mustache out of it. No, y'all were just screwed, and y'all should have just accepted it. Fallout was the far superior movie out of the two. That being said, I'm talking about Justice League, not the Zack Snyder cut. I will reserve opinions for that for another stream. Yeah, I don't see Fallout being that high. Like, I would want to stick it almost exactly the same, if not maybe a little lower than Rogue Nation. So,
we got two S's versus you wanting to put it second in A.
I mean, I actually wanted to put Fallout much lower. I know I'm not going to get that, and I don't have to get that. I'm okay with it being higher because it is a good movie. And again, we've said this over and over again, like, with the exception of The Mummy, fuck that movie, the rest of these movies are all like easily watchable movies, except for maybe War of the Worlds. I don't know.
Let's do the math here. You want to put it second in A, and you got two people saying go ahead and slide it into S.
So it's either going to be higher A or the low of S. The problem is also keep in mind what's the next movie that we're about to do.
Yeah, bump Ghost Protocol down and put Fallout in its place.
God damn it.
Yes. Yes. Ah.
I am conceding on this only because I know what the next movie is.
Oh, thank
And there's
God.
no
Chris,
way I have any argument against
and,
that.
And because he wants PJ to come back in the future.
And I really value PJ's opinions. I'm still putting Ghost Protocol above Rogue Nation, though.
Yes.
That's fine. I could not get out of here with Ghost Protocol being the highest Mission Impossible movie.
They currently are back to back to back.
I mean,
Which I
look,
think is fair.
I can take it. That feels fair.
But does that not mean that that's probably one of the best trilogies ever?
100%.
That's what Haskell was saying.
But like in not even just action, I'm talking about just in general a trilogy of movies.
I think it also just it speaks to the quality behind what they were doing, and McQuarrie showing up because he helps write Ghost Protocol, and then he directs the next 2 installments, and he just gets it, man. Like, and we're gonna talk about it with the next movie too. He just gets working with Cruise. He just gets it, and they just get blockbuster filmmaking.
Yep.
Here's the thing, like the Mission Impossible movies are great. I can't wait for Dead Reckoning.
What are you doing? Put
yeah, I'm gonna go ahead.
Just go ahead and do that right now.
Yeah, I might as well. I'm in the process of moving these around. Might as well go ahead and just make the space. Slide
them both.
Yeah, this one's gonna slide also.
Slide it.
I do have Minority Report slightly ranked higher, and I'll explain why. You know what? I'll go ahead and relent. I do get the argument, even though we haven't actually brought it up yet. I will go ahead and relent, and I will leave that.
Once again, this is not recency bias.
This is not recency bias. There's also let's be mindful about spoilers, I guess.
I know.
Top Gun Maverick.
There he is. All right.
This is an S tier movie if I've ever seen one. So I don't feel like I really need to explain why it's S tier. If you've seen the movie, this is one of those, if you know, you know. If you've seen the movie, the only argument that I had as to why I would have still put Minority Report above is, as of right now, I don't see... I can't see watching Top Gun Maverick in any way other than in a movie theater. And they're not going to keep Top Gun Maverick in a movie theater. I've said this comment before. I want a movie theater in every major city, at least, that is just always showing Top Gun Maverick. So if I'm ever in the mood to watch it again, I just go to the movie theater. I don't turn it on a TV. I don't put it on a computer, laptop, whatever. None of those will do Top Gun Maverick justice. You have to go see it in a theater. If you don't watch it in a theater, then why are you watching it?
All right, look where Top Gun is in this ranking. Look where Top Gun Maverick is about to be put, you guys.
I'm just gonna go ahead and put it there. Like, y'all can share your opinions. It's still going where it's going.
Look how different in quality this is. When is the last time you saw a movie this crowd pleasing, this exciting, a legacy sequel this long later, this good, that actually makes the original movie both better and worse at the same time? A movie that, like, legitimately has some of the most thrilling sequences I have ever seen put on film.
Yeah.
This movie is way better than it had any right to be. And this is not recency bias. I left the theater just like fist pumping that I couldn't believe what a great time I just had. I was blown away. And for some reason, I forgot that Tom Cruise was that guy. And I walked out and went, why did I ever think that Cruise was not going to do this? Why did I think that his Top Gun sequel was going to be just more of the same? I mean, is it? Sure, I guess. But it's not. This movie has heart. It has soul. It makes me actually give a shit about anything that happened in the original by making it good in this one. The use of the footage from the original to call back the memories, to bring it here. And that's not a spoiler. You know that if there was an original movie, that they're going to call back to that. All the stuff between Pete and Goose's son. Again, not a spoiler. We all have seen this in the trailers. It's so incredible. To all the fucking people who were trying to complain that they recast Meg Ryan in this movie, please learn to watch movies. She was not recast. It wouldn't have been possible. Exactly. That's my point. There was a bunch of people who were saying that Cruise recast her because she'd had plastic surgery. The character's not in it. She can't be. Learn to fucking pay attention watching a movie. Jennifer Connelly has never been more attractive ever in a movie.
No. That movie where she's like trapped in a Target. She was really attractive in that. And wait. This is coming from the person that is the.
That's why
you know where I'm going with this.
That's why I'm fucking saying it, brother.
Holy crap. Okay, so those of y'all who don't know the reference, PJ absolutely loves The Rocketeer, which is probably like everyone's first recollection of Jennifer Connelly, and he's still saying Jennifer Connelly's better in this. That's something.
Dude, I'm telling you guys, like, take the volleyball scene in that original movie and then actually do a version of it that actually matters.
Yeah.
Finding ways to like take shit that didn't matter and make it have heart, make it have soul. This movie made me fucking cry. Dude, you guys, I can't stress enough. Tom Cruise. Like, he just gets it. Chris McQuarrie just gets it. Joseph Kosinski just fucking gets it. Please watch Only the Brave. Watch Tron Legacy. Watch the stuff he's done before this. People write Kosinski off as a filmmaker. He fucking gets it.
Not anymore.
He's done two of the greatest Legacy sequels of all time. Hands down.
One of them's called Legacy.
Right. 100%. Guys, this is American filmmaking at its absolute finest.
Yeah.
I am not kidding that this movie is in my top 3 films of the year and will probably still be there until the end.
Yep.
Are you fucking kidding me? Top Gun Maverick is a fucking triumph.
There's not a lot of movies that I will watch and like halfway through immediately already be like, yeah, this is probably going to end up in one of those movies I just want to throw on when I just want a comfortable movie just to throw on. Like it's going to end up being like a highly watched comfort movie for me. And to my brother's point where he's like, I will only watch it in the theater. That's not what you're saying, but like only a theater can do it justice. I think once you've seen it in a theater, then watching it at home, you'll recall how it was in the theater, and
I'm hoping so.
It'll still work.
But my honest plan is I don't know when, because I don't have a whole lot of free time. I'm hoping to go see this in the theater again. I want to go find, like, at the very least, I would love to go find a Limax, an IMAX that's not a full-on IMAX, but slightly smaller. I do feel like a full actual IMAX may be too big for this. You might get like airsick type of thing. But I do want like the best sound system, the biggest possible screen that I feel like would make sense. That's what I want to go see next.
I loved this movie. Like, you even know, like, we were sitting there watching it and I turned to you before the movie was even over. Like, we were still in the third act somewhere and I was like, this is a really good movie.
And I was like, yeah.
Like, honestly, like, PJ said everything. Everything.
Our 2-minute review we did immediately out of the theater. That's also live on this channel.
Hard to do a 2-minute review of this movie.
It doesn't do it justice. You can't talk about this movie in 2 minutes.
No, this movie's fucking incredible, you guys. It is. It's fucking incredible. I can't. Like, how does this movie exist? And I really mean that.
The stars align, planets align for this one.
This movie should not have been what it was.
And let's say this too. Coming out of the, like, yes, COVID is still a thing, obviously, and we're all very aware that we're still living through it.
Yeah.
But we're in a world that we're trying to get back to some normalcy. And yeah, we've gotten like the Spider-Man No Way Homes, and we've gotten these movies that are like really, really great. And I loved No Way Home. It like, don't get me wrong, I love that movie. I can't remember the last time that we all went to a theater and I saw age groups that were not just teenagers that were like so excited to see a movie. Families, like I took my parents. I saw a family of 10 at the screening that I went to. Ages across the board that were just so enthralled. People clapping at the end of the movie, man. I don't see that very often. Like, that's remarkable. This movie is so fucking good. We don't deserve it, and I am so glad it exists because I needed this. Coming out of the pandemic, it reminded me what these movies could be. It reminded me what's special about movies. It really did.
I really, really hope that Hollywood takes all the right cues and all the right notes from this movie on how to do a legacy sequel, so that if they are ever bold enough to do any more legacy sequels like this, they really think long and hard about whether or not they can make it as good as Top Gun Maverick.
This is it, man. This is the echelon now. Like, you want peak legacy sequel? Can you touch it?
Yeah.
It's going to be hard.
If you can't touch it, don't do it. Don't fuck with the original.
Yeah.
You've got to have the reason. It's really simple. And it's funny. Like, I mean, this is a little off topic, but when you think about it, we've got 2 legacy sequels this weekend. Disney's doing it too with Obi-Wan. Like, it's a TV show, but it's another one. We didn't wait 36 years, but we waited 20.
Yeah.
And guess what? They're learning the right lessons. That story that they're telling demanded to be told, as it turned out. And it works. Top Gun, same thing. It's really fucking special. It's a hell of a time to be alive for someone who likes movies and stuff. It really is.
How do y'all feel with the fact that Top Gun Maverick was supposed to come out in 2019? They originally they suspended it so they could redo some action scenes, which fine. It was supposed to come out in 2020, and then it got delayed because of COVID. So
it's crazy.
All everything that happened with COVID without like people, I guess, I don't know. I feel like this is going to get political, but I don't want it to be.
It's crazy because like we're talking about movies that have been delayed because of the pandemic. Yeah. And a lot of those movies have lost steam just because my interest has waned over the course of 2 years' time.
Yeah.
Or my interest in Top Gun Maverick was gone. Like until the reviews started coming out.
I was at Comic-Con when they brought the trailer. Imagine that, like, same thing.
Yeah, like Black Widow. I lost interest in Black Widow over a period of time. I lost interest in Morbius to the point where I didn't even care that I didn't go see it.
Morbius.
Exactly. It's Morbin time. Top Gun Maverick is one where there might have been a period of time there where I was like, I don't know. It's been a while. Like, I don't know if I care as much. And then like the next trailer came out. I was like, okay, this trailer does actually look pretty good. And then the reviews started coming out and I was like, okay, hype immediately back up. Now that is usually something I'm wary of. When a movie is hyped up as much as Top Gun Maverick has been, I walk in going, there's no shot this movie can live up to the hype that people are giving it right now. And somehow it surpassed it.
Jeez.
It surpasses the hype for me.
Yeah. I can't believe this movie is as good as it is, you guys.
I almost should have like started this marquee with Top Gun Maverick already in that position and just left it like hidden and just moved everything else around it.
Mummy. Maverick, Mummy.
Yeah, Maverick and the Mummy. Those are before this stream started, I already knew where Maverick and the Mummy were going to be at.
You didn't know that's where Maverick. You didn't know that's where Maverick was going to be at. You were trying to put Minority Report ahead of it, you dummy.
I mean,
I'm calling bullshit.
You're calling shenanigans. Shenanigans.
Anyways, that being said, are we happy with where everything else is?
Honestly, this is a pretty fucking solid ranking.
It's not bad, even though we all didn't get like our exact choices. I feel like this isn't that far.
That's never
off.
gonna happen.
No
one's
but
ever gonna get their exact choices.
No,
but considering what we did, like I think some people looking at it will be surprised. I think they're going to be surprised to see stuff like Night and Day and Oblivion so high, and I think that's really cool.
Night and Day is the one that I like where it's at. Like if y'all just anyone who saw the preview for it and you're like, it just looks very blah, go watch Night and Day. It's much better than you think.
Yeah, like this is a cool list, man. And again, to your guys' point, like look at where those 3 Mission Impossible movies ended up ranking, literally back to back to each other. Like it's pretty great. Like this is a good list, man.
Yeah.
Anyways, so that's our ranking of all of these. I'm gonna go ahead and let's see if I can get Carl to work right this time. Pretty sure
Come
I
on,
can.
Carl, get it together.
You got it, Carl.
We believe in you,
Carl.
Hey, wow! He almost
close.
had it that time. He's been hitting the sauce. I don't know what else to say.
Carl's been waiting around for 3.5 hours.
We were so close. Yeah. Carl's like, I got shit to do. I gotta like step this up. Anyways, that's gonna be it for the marquee tonight. So new thing we're doing this time. I see we have dropped in viewers, and they're just gonna have to wait until it's announced otherwise. But if you stick around to the end of the marquee, what we're trying to do now is we are going to announce the marquee for next month at the end of the current marquee. This one's really easy, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I don't know who we're going to get as a guest because I had an idea for a guest, and he's not going to be available. So next month, in celebration of the release of Disney and Pixar's Lightyear, we will be ranking all of the Pixar movies.
You were trying to get Chance, weren't you?
We were trying to get Chance, yeah.
I'll just say it. I know he's going to be out of fucking country. Sorry,
I learned like during this. I messaged him. Unfortunately, we're not going to get him. I do have some ideas of other people that we can get. One of whom I'm really eager to still hear their opinion of Pixar. So we will be tier ranking all of the Pixar movies next month. I believe that's going to be June 18th is what I'm shooting for right now.
And as we were saying earlier, we would release a list on Patreon for the movies that we'll be ranking. But if you want the list of movies that we're ranking, go to disneyplus.com and type in Pixar.
It's all the Pixar movies. That one's easy.
So yes, there you go. It's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I think this hasn't been like teed up better for us than a Buzz Lightyear movie, because who started the Pixar movies? Toy Story. It's teed up for us.
Damn right.
Yeah. So that will be next month. Again, shooting for June 18th, which I believe is the Saturday after Lightyear comes out. So we will be including Lightyear on that tier ranking as well. That's going to be a lot of fun. I think, in fact, now, given what some people are saying, I believe I might have like some ideas as who else to get.
Yep, let's get one of those Tinder spam bots.
Yeah,
dude. The Tinder spam bots are all about it. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Nothing says family movies like
family friendly, like the Russian sex bots that spam whatever. Anyways, so real quick, PJ, where can we find you at?
Twitter, Instagram, PJ_Campbell. I write questions to the movie Schmodown. Hey, be nice to the question writers. We're only human. Guys, this was so much fun. Thank you for having me. I will always come back. This is the best. Like, are you kidding me? I love hanging out with you too.
I am curious. What is one like franchise, actor, director, just a category overall that you would love to tier rank, that you feel like the top echelon of experience tier ranking?
On it, like I said it earlier. Spielberg's my guy. Like, I would have a lot of fun if we did a Spielberg one. But
that will definitely be one that's going to happen.
One other one, and I think I could sign up someone to do it with us if we did this. 007 could be a lot of fun, and I think Tim Franco would have the time of our lives having some fun with that.
Feel like that's a shitload of movies that me and my brother would need to watch.
It is. There's a lot of Bond that I'm not.
There's 25. If we just keep to the official 25,
no branching out to the original Casino Royale or
don't do Never Say Never Again. We'll just keep it to the Eon ones. 25 movies.
Here's the thing. I could see doing like a mega. This is just spitballing here. I could see us doing like a mega stream. This is like a 6-hour stream I'm talking about, where we do all those. You get PJ, you get Tim, you get Mike and Brad.
Yeah, if we could get Mike Kalinowski and Brad the Boat Gilmore on this,
I'll sign up. I'm just saying. But
That's
Spielberg, let's do it. I'm around. You know how to reach me.
Yep. Oh, keep that in mind. Spielberg is definitely a tier ranking that I would love to do.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, so you can follow us, the Cinefanatics. Of course, you're on our channel right now, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. You could, also before we get into any other plugs, those of y'all that still stuck around, if you haven't heard yet, make sure you go check out our latest video, Deconstructed Trailer of Thor: Love and Thunder. For those of you who don't know, we basically took the 2 Thor trailers that have been out, re-edited them in the way that we think the movie is going to go. It's basically a theory with a bunch of jokes in there. If we are correct, that would be awesome, but watch it, then go watch Thor: Love and Thunder and come back and watch it again, and we'll see how close we were with that. So make sure you check that out. It is less than 5 minutes, easily digestible content. Give us a comment. Let us know what you think. I would love to continue that series if it does well. So otherwise, follow us at Cinefanatics MLP on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow me, Robert Adams MLP, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. I will have my actual ranking of all Tom Cruise movies I've seen, including the dramatic ones. That will be up on Letterboxd either later tonight or tomorrow. So I already have it put together. I just need to make it public, pretty much. Chris.
Yes, you can follow me at Chris Adams MLP on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. I will probably also have a Letterboxd ranking list that will go up public as well. You can also follow me at twitch.tv/Chris Adams MLP, where we're going to be doing a lot of fun stuff. Streaming tomorrow. Come hang out with me tomorrow. We're going to be doing Jackbox games as well with the community. So you guys come hang out, come play some Jackbox games with us. That's going to happen. And then we got Metroid, guys. I'm going back into the Metroid Prime trilogy on Twitch. You got to come hang out for that starting Monday. I've got emotes. I've got a new overlay. I got everything going for it. I'm ready. I'm excited.
I'm going to come hang out with you. I don't hang out with you nearly enough on Twitch. I'm sorry. I'm a bad friend.
Yeah, that's what we do. We get special guests to come onto the Marquee, and then we guilt them into watching.
Guilt trip them into coming and hanging out with me.
Yeah, Dipper agrees. See, Dipper's mad at me, guys.
Anyways, it's after 1 a.m. here in Austin, Texas, so we are going to bid everyone a good night. PJ, thank you for being a part of this stream tonight. It was such a pleasure. This was a blast to do. I know it was over 3.5 hours, but I mean, I had fun the entire 3.5 hours. So,
look, man,
thank you for being a part of this.
It was the best. Thanks for letting me go into the danger zone with you guys.
Hey.
Yeah.
Anyways, so as for myself, as for PJ, as for my brother, thank y'all all in the chat for watching, participating. We will see y'all probably Wednesday.
And now this message will self-destruct.
In however long it takes to play the intro. It's 14 seconds. So after 14 seconds. Later.